Good evening, everyone. We're going to get started. My name is Christine Vitale. I have the honor of being the first select person here in Fairfield, and I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. As you know, thank you. Hopefully you feel that way at the end of this. As you know, we are in the entering our third month of our safety speed camera rollout. And we thought it would be a good opportunity to provide an update on how the program is going, answer some outstanding questions, and continue to gather your feedback. We will also be providing an update on some quick build road infrastructure projects that will be up for the next few months, and you may have noticed popping up around town. The goal of these initiatives is to make our streets safer for drivers, pedestrians, and cyclists, especially around our schools. I'm joined tonight by Chief of Police Michael Paris, Captain Hector Irizarry, who is the head of the Special Services Bureau, which includes the Traffic Enforcement Unit, Director of DPW Frank Batiste, Chair of the Fairfield Traffic Authority Kevin Kiley, and Jason Norton from Ultimate, who has been our partner in implementing the speed camera program here in Fairfield. We will be providing you with a brief presentation, and then there will be an opportunity for questions Q&A. Our Chief of Staff, Christine Brown, will be helping moderate tonight's discussion. In the essence of time, we'll be asking that you write your questions on index cards so we can group similar questions together. There will be an opportunity for public comment at the end of tonight's meeting. Your feedback has already led us to make some changes to the program. When we went live in May, residents shared that some of the cameras were blocked by trees, some of the signs they couldn't see. The signs went up in April before the leaves were on the trees. So DPW went out there to prune to make sure the signs were visible. A resident recently suggested that alerting drivers that they were approaching a school, it might be helpful to have pavement markings on our roads. So the traffic authority approved moving forward with that change. We have phased in the fines during the month of June. Drivers who received one citation during the first 2 weeks of June, regardless if there were multiple speeding violations, only one citation was mailed. That increased to 3 violations for the last 2 weeks of June. Keeping our residents safe is our top priority. That will be a recurring theme tonight. We are incredibly fortunate to have one of the best police departments in the state who are always looking for new tools to help keep our community safe. We are one of the few police departments in the state that have a dedicated traffic unit. However, our police officers cannot be patrolling over 250 miles of roads 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Public safety is the reason Fairfield has elected to implement a speed camera program. Locations for the cameras were based on crash and traffic data, and we have relied on our police department to guide us through every step of the process. Speed cameras are an effective tool to help reduce speeding on our streets while allowing our police department to dedicate their resources in other needed areas. The state of Connecticut and the town of Fairfield have committed to advancing the Vision Zero initiative. Our goal is to eliminate traffic fatalities by the year 2034. Unfortunately, 2 fatalities on Reading Road made it clear that we needed to do more to keep our streets safe, especially in corridors where schools are located. Now is the time to be proactive so we can hopefully prevent another tragedy. We are approaching road safety from many directions: education, engineering, and enforcement, and relying on our police department, traffic authority, and Department of Public Works, experts in their fields, for guidance. I thank them all for being here tonight. So let's get started. I'm going to hand it over to Christine Brown, who will lead the conversation.
Thank you. Thank you, Christine. So as Christine said, tonight we're going to be talking about Fairfield's Vision Zero pledge and some of the mechanisms we're using to help us achieve that objective of 0 deaths and serious injuries by 2034. Specifically, the quick build projects you've seen popping up around town and the speed safety cameras in school zones. So we want to start the evening by sharing some information with you directly. We're going to spend the next half hour or so having Frank Batiste, our Director of Public Works, and Jason Norton from Altiman give us a short presentation on Vision Zero, quick builds, and speed safety cameras. And before we begin, I just want to mention that the session tonight is being recorded. So if you have friends who couldn't be here, they'll be able to view the recording from the town website. It should be up within about 24 hours. So with that, I want to bring up Frank Batiste. Frank is a licensed professional engineer with his master's in public administration, and he is our Director of Public Works. And Frank is going to share a short presentation with us.
You want to start or do you want to switch?
Or you can use that.
Thank you, Christine. So, uh, as mentioned, I'm Frank Batiste from the direct. Yep, sorry. How's that? All right. I'm Frank Batiste. I'm the Director of Public Works here in Fairfield. And I'm going to run through overall Vision Zero and how we design our streets here in Fairfield. So, as mentioned already, Vision Zero is an initiative to get serious injuries and fatal crashes down to zero. So the vision is zero. It's a global initiative, and I think it's important to highlight that it focuses on crash severity and not necessarily the overall number of vehicle crashes. We're focusing on the more severe ones. Oops. So why does it matter? Safe walkable streets enhance our community. They make it safe for us to travel around town. They enhance the public realm. So overall here you will see some serious injuries and fatalities throughout Fairfield. The graph on the right, the greenish color is the serious injuries, and then the smaller number is the fatalities we've had since 2024. I do have the 2025 data, which isn't on here, but that's 18 serious injuries and 2 fatalities. So since the pandemic, we've seen a large increase in vehicle speeds and the severity of crashes. They go hand in hand. And when I say we, I don't just mean the town of Fairfield. It's throughout Connecticut. It's nationwide. So we're not unique in having that issue. It is throughout the country. So Vision Zero is not new. It was launched in Sweden in 1997. It's been successful throughout the world. The first city or municipality to adopt it in the country was New York City in 2014. And then Vision Zero Pledge was also signed here in Fairfield in 2024 to get that number to zero by 2034. I can also tell you I've done some work in the past before I came here. I'm relatively new to the town as far as working here goes. But I've done work with Yale University in the past. In 2018 on Vision Zero, we studied it, looked at it. I've implemented this in other municipalities, Connecticut, Stanford's doing it, Norwalk, New Haven, West Hartford, to name a few. And then the equation you see on the bottom of the slide is kinetic energy. And I think it's important to highlight that because the speed at which you travel is squared there. Sorry, I'm an engineer. I get a little into this stuff, but so it's not a linear increase in severity. It multiplies quickly. It's exponential. So speed directly relates to those severity of crashes. The principles of Vision Zero at the core are that traffic deaths are preventable. We shouldn't just accept that, it happens. They are preventable incidents. Speed is the most important factor in those crashes. Humans are vulnerable. Our bodies are not designed to take such an impact. People make mistakes. This is also a big one. We have a stigma in this country in the past where, if some pedestrian crosses the street where they're not supposed to, and they lose their life as a result, it happens. We don't think about it that way. We don't look at the person, but people make mistakes. Everyone in this room makes mistakes. I make mistakes. You shouldn't have to pay that ultimate price for it. And we use data to look at how we design our roadway network. So this graphic shows you how speed relates to the severity of injuries. Pedestrian hit by a vehicle going 20 miles an hour has roughly a 5% chance of losing their life. You jump that up another 10 miles an hour to 30 miles an hour, and you have a 45% chance of a fatality. Then at 40 miles an hour, it jumps all the way up to 85%. So that's what I was talking about, that it jumps up quickly. It's not a linear progression. So just a few miles an hour make a difference. So Vision Zero focuses on the safe systems approach, on how we look at our roadways. It involves safer people, which means educating our public about crash severity and speed, and how to utilize the roadway network. It's also providing safe transportation for people, to move them around. Do we have public transit in the right places, getting people from point A to point B? Do we have sidewalks? Do we have the proper ADA ramps for someone across the street who has a wheelchair or stroller? Um, we look at safer roads, so that's how we design our roadways. If we have a road that's supposed to be driven at 25 miles an hour, we should look at designing it to be driven at 25 miles an hour. We shouldn't design it to be driven at 50, because once again, people make mistakes. They're going to drive 50 if you design it that way. Um, we also look at safer speeds. So that's the traditional 3 E's: engineering, enforcement, and education. All those three combined look at how to get safer speeds. And then we also look at safer vehicles. So that's vehicle design, really. Over the years, if any of you have a newer vehicle, there's a lot more crash detection things built into it: airbags, seat belts. And it also looks at things like the height of the vehicle hood. 20 years ago, the average vehicle hood was much lower than it is today. So someone being hit by a vehicle, you have a tendency to get hit in the lower half of your body. Whereas now it's higher. You're getting hit in the torso where your vital organs are. It's much more of an impact. And then we also look at post-crash care. So what's our incident management? How do we respond to crashes? This all encompasses this safe systems approach. So for the design portion, we talk a lot about complete streets, and complete streets is the engineering arm or the design arm of how we design our roadways to achieve safer streets. So it's looking at our streets not just for cars. Our streets have been here longer than vehicles have been here. People have been using them for centuries. So it's looking at designing our streets for pedestrians, bicyclists, public transportation, and vehicles. It's looking at everything, encompassing multimodal transportation. You see the graphic on the left here is a 4-lane wide road. And on the right, you have, 1 lane in each direction with a 2-way left turn lane, which are proven to reduce turning vehicle crashes. You also see bike lanes, wider shoulders, sidewalk, crosswalk. So this all encompasses complete streets. Complete streets even includes things like street trees. So even trees have been proven to slow vehicles down, narrows the driver's visibility as they go down the road. There's also health benefits there too. There's particulates and emissions that cause asthma in children, and trees remove that from the air. So the first step in some of our complete street designs that you've seen around town are quick builds. So what are quick builds? They're a fast, flexible way that we can approach complete streets. They're low cost. We use low cost items like the delineators or bollards or the white sticks you see around, as well as the center line hardening and paint on the ground. They allow us to test out different things on the street and get feedback in real time and see how it works before we invest the money in installing new curbing, in concrete and pavement and all of that. So it's a much more cost-effective way for us to look at these initiatives. And I want to point out that they are not permanent. So, we do get feedback that they're not the most aesthetically pleasing things. I understand that, but they're not supposed to be there forever. It's just so we can test out these methods, and then we can also move them around. We've already adjusted some. I'm actually going out again tomorrow with our guys to adjust a few more. And they support our goals for complete streets and Vision Zero, not only at the town level, but also at the state level. The state of Connecticut Department of Transportation has complete streets and quick build initiatives as well. So how do we achieve Vision Zero? There's a number of things in the Vision Zero or design toolbox: raised crosswalks, raised intersections. For those of you that don't know what a raised crosswalk is, It's similar to a speed hump, except the top, it's at the actual crosswalk location itself, and the top of it is flat, so it's ADA compliant. So it brings the pedestrian up to the top of the curb effectively and forces vehicles to slow down as they enter that area. Then curb extensions, so that's what you see with a lot of the delineators around. We're testing out how those curb extensions work. It slows turning vehicles. It also shortens the distance that a pedestrian has to cross the road. So if someone only has to cross 20 feet of roadway versus 40 feet, you're cutting the distance they're in the road, having a potential conflict with a vehicle in half. We also look at lane narrowing, so that's even some of the line striping, painting, a 10-foot travel lane reduces vehicle speeds by several miles an hour as well. It's the narrowing effect again. And then we also look at automated traffic enforcement safety devices. Those are the speed safety cameras and the red light cameras. When the state came up with this legislature, they chose the word safety on purpose. They are for safety. That is the goal with those. I don't want to dive too much into that because we have Jason here who will go into those in more detail. And with that, I will turn it over to him.
Thank you. Thank you, Frank. Hopefully that was useful in providing some context on why we're doing this. Wanted to bring up Jason Norton, who's a business executive from Ultimate, who is our partner in the implementation of the speed safety camera program. Jason is going to be giving us a report on what we've been seeing in the first 2 months of this program.
Gotcha. That works. All right, can you all hear me in the back? All right. So I understand for the evening, the dinner is the meat, which are the questions. I'm the salad, I'm the appetizer. So I will try to get through this quickly. Happy to answer any questions afterwards if you have any. Frank talked a lot about this. Obviously, speed determines survival, and you've seen this. Again, 23 miles an hour, you have a 10% risk of death. 50, you have 75. So speed matters. And where does it matter the most? It matters in high activity zones, like a school zones where you have pedestrians, where you have kids, and today, it used to be the phones, right? A couple years ago, the phone was the distraction. Today, it's the scooters and the motorcycles. I mean, I see them in our community. You see them around. These kids are buzzing all over the place. They just don't have, as we talked about, the frontal cortex was quite developed yet. So you got to watch out for them. And I told a young lady earlier, I said, my wife would tell you that my frontal cortex probably hasn't developed yet. Hey, now. So perception reaction time, you saw Frank, he had a mathematical formula. That's the difference between engineer and me. I have pictures. But the reaction time when you're going for your speed, so when you're going 20 miles an hour versus 40, your reaction time, when you process what's going on, when you brake or whatever the case may be, obviously speed affects that. So that's why it's important in a school zone. The program's about changing driver behavior, and there's many different groups across the United States, Federal Highway Administration, Governor's Highway Safety Association, NHTSA, maybe you've heard of that, National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and obviously Vision Zero there at the bottom, have all looked into photo enforcement, and they've done it for 15, 20 years, that looked at the effectiveness of the programs and do they work and are they part of the program. It's not the end-all solution, I'll tell you that now, but it is part of a solution. The documented safety case. So in Connecticut, as you know, they just passed the law, but part of that law is a very intense program where you have to submit for approval. So I've done this for over 20 years, and I would say Connecticut's probably the most intense in this process. I think, somehow that jumped up. So for Fairfield alone, I think their document was probably over 200 pages to submit to the state for, CTDOT and the Office of State Traffic Administration, which are here sometimes called OSTA. If you hear that, that's what that is. Some of the things that stood out was 56 crashes, 12 injuries. And this is just the ones that are live right now. 2 corridors, areas with fatal or near fatal, crash history. A lot of times when you go into these, those numbers are less. So it's not that you're fixing necessarily an issue, is you're preventing a future issue. These numbers are relatively high from what I've seen in the past. So what we measured when I go through some of this data, every speeding event, so a violation, sometimes this gets confusing. So if it's 20 miles an hour, a violation, it triggers at 11. So state law says 10 or more. So if the speed limit's 20, at 30 or more, that's a violation by state law. Fairfield has chosen to bump that up another number, so it's 11. So if the speed limit's 20, it triggers at 31. If you're going 31, you're going to get a warning or get a citation. I know some of you have already participated, as you've told me before the meeting, about the warning period. 75,000 different vehicles triggered the cameras. 180. You're winning. You're winning. No violation, no record, no data. So what if you're going 10 over? What if you're going 5 over? Are you breaking the law? Yes, you're breaking the law. Are we tracking that? Are we tagging your plate, taking a picture, taking a video? No. Only if you're going that 11 or over, do our cameras grab a picture of your car. So some of your monitored camera directions, and this will, I think they're posting this online and it's recorded. Obviously, I won't read through these, but these are some of the events and which ones are totaling the highest. Notre Dame seems to be the highest, a good chunk of those, but you can look at those on your own time just for your review. Every citation, what happens when an event happens? What happens when a violation, when a car triggers it? So we will look through it. We'll grab the plate, grab the make and the model. We send it off to the DMV, make sure it matches. Does it match? Is it a Chevy truck, license plate 123? Yes. Comes back to a human at ultimate. It always goes through a human first. We look at it. Is it the Chevy truck, license plate 123? Yes. Is the violation happening? Yes. Anything else? Yes, yes, yes. Is it a trick? Does it check all the boxes? Yes. Then we send it to the town, and the town is the only ones who can authorize a citation to go out. Every one of them is looked at by a human as well, and only they can decide if it goes out or not us. Data privacy. So there's a lot of talk about data privacy these days in a number of different ways. It's probably on your mind about this program and maybe others. So just kind of go through some of it, what happens with some of this. So, and this is for Ultimate. This is not for every company in the state or in the country. One of the things is we are a CJIS, if you ever heard the CJIS, it's Criminal Justice Information Services. So we are CJIS certified, meaning every person who touches any part of data at our office, we have to be fingerprinted, we have to go through a criminal background check, and we have to go through safety measures and get audited on that. SOC 2, some of you may have heard of that. System and Organization Controls 2. It's a cybersecurity compliance audit. It takes a long time to get through it, but we did get through it. We are SOC 2 compliant, which is a very long process. They look at everything, how you handle data, how you handle this, how you handle that, and go through that. Access control, role-based. So who can look at what? It depends on who you are if you have access. I don't have access to even the back office, and I head up sales, account management, marketing. I don't even have access. I don't have a password. I don't have a login. I wouldn't even know how to get into it. So if you don't belong in it, you're not in it. And this includes the town as well. Town review 100%, as I just talked about on the last slide. They review every citation, every violation, and only they can approve a citation to go out. Retention, 30 days. Now this is state law, if you've seen this or read about it. Your PII information, so your name, your address, any of that has to go away within 30 days after after the violation has ended. So if you pay, that's day one, no more than 30 days, that information has to be destroyed. If it goes through, if it gets deleted, it's gone within 30 days. That's state law. We obviously comply with that. A little bit of difference between the ALPR cameras and our cameras. So they have different, very different functions. They do different things, and they serve different purposes. An ALPR will take a picture of the plate as it goes through every plate. As I mentioned on ours, only if you trigger at 11 above do we capture that plate of the car. Public awareness, it is an important part of Ultimate's footprint, and something we take a lot of pride in and believe in is the public awareness, putting flyers out, being at meetings like this. If y'all have a Lions or Chamber of Commerce, or you need a speaker, I'm happy to come in and just talk about the program. If you're assigned a luncheon or something, we can do that. Come to schools, when school starts back up, we can come to the colleges as well to let them know about it. Happy to do any of that. Flyers, if anybody needs information, the police department and the town has asked us to develop, welcome back, if you will, welcome back to school flyers for the colleges, so they're educated, to go to the parents and go to the students. So when mom and dad get that ticket back home, they'll understand what it was about. So, is it working? Speeding fell steadily from the very first day. So as you see on this, the light blue represents the warning month. So that was the month of May. And it started off, the first day was over 7,300 violations. That's 11 and over. 7,300 violations on the first day of warnings. Goes down, it drops to 80% by the last day of the first month. And then in the dark blue is the citation period. So for that first month of June. So overall, from the first day of warnings until the last day of June, dropped 87.2%. It's a phenomenal drop. And keep in mind, sometimes when you see these stats, this doesn't include the testing. So the testing was over almost 9,000 a day when it was tested. This is from the first day of warnings. This is people know it's going in, news stories, people are out, looking at the cameras being installed. There's been news crews out there. People know about it. They're learning about it. Still, that first day, you had 7,400. So phenomenal drop. This one I thought is a very interesting aspect too. Had you started on May 1st at 7,300, that 7,300 figure, and gone through I keep doing that. Somebody messing with me? So it goes through 2 months, and if you kept at that 7,300 clip, 189,000 fewer violations happened. Just on these locations, 190,000 fewer violations. So this one's kind of fun and interesting to me. I'm sort of, math nerd sometimes. So 2.19% of the chronic speeders. What's a chronic speeder? Something we just kind of made up to measure. But it's 10 or more violations in May. So those were all warnings. So if you had over 10 warnings in May, I don't know if there's any participants here, if you want to raise your hand. There were almost 2,200 vehicles who did that. 2,200 had violations of more than 10 during the warning period. That 3% of the drivers made up 22% of all the violations. So your chronic speeders or your chronic problems, obviously. Why does this keep doing that? So what has that done though? So if you look on the graph on the right, and these are your chronic speeders, this is daily violations. Those 2.9% had over 1,000 violations a day. They've dropped to 147 when the live enforcement in June. Now, could it be college kids who have left town and they're just speeding through the town? It might be. It might be the pizza delivery person who's learned their lesson. They got a violation. It might be parents talking to their children who because the parents got the warning period. Don't know. We can't track those because of the information we have to dump. All we know is by the plate, so we don't know who they are. 45% of them stopped completely. So they were a chronic speeder in May, 0 in June. That's pretty phenomenal. Could be. Could be. Could be. It could be. The comment was maybe they're avoiding, maybe they're going around it. But guess what? They're not speeding in your school zone either. Okay. Done. Let's just finish. I'm happy to stay here all night. I have nowhere to go. I'll stay here for as long as you want. All right. Let me just finish. Top 100 vehicles. So these are just the top 100. They set out the cameras more than any other, averaging 44 times each, one as high as 135. But their behavior has also changed. A 79% drop in their violations. 67% of them cut their speeding in half or more. 23 cut it by 100%. Again, maybe they're avoiding the cameras, but they're not speeding in your school zones. They may be college kids out of town. They may just have learned their lesson. We don't know. But the trend is phenomenal. So we sort of looked at some of the programs that we have, and we're across the United States. We've been in business for 20 years. We're in programs in 11, contracts in 11 different states. So we kind of looked at what the normal trend is, which is that light blue line, and the dark blue line is Fairfield. So as you can see, and we've shown on the slides before, Fairfield reductions have been phenomenal. So some of the things that Fairfield has done differently, than other towns, cities, counties, communities across the United States, and certainly Connecticut. So extended the warning period. So the warning period by state, you do 30 days. Fairfield did 31 days. And you're thinking, who cares? It's 1 day. Big deal, right? Right. Big, right? You think big deal. That last day, 1,855 additional warnings went out instead of citations. 985 of them didn't get a citation. Maybe they learned their lesson. Maybe they left town. Maybe they're avoiding it. But half of those who got the warning did not get a citation in June. As was mentioned earlier, there was only something very different. And again, I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've never seen this done before. So for the first 2 weeks, no matter how many times you violated the egregious speeding in a school zone, you only got 1 citation. So you could have done it 100 times, you got 1 citation. For the first month, so that was the entire month of June, you were maxed at 3. So again, you could have done it 1,000 times, but you only got 3 citations. Extended trigger, we talked about the 10 or more, Fairfield triggers at 11. The other one is the no additional fee in June. So as you know, by state law, the fine is $50. If you get a second, third, or however many after that, within a 12-month period, the fine is $75. And keep in mind and I'll talk about this in a minute, but in Fairfield, they kept the $50 fine throughout June. So it didn't go up to 75. So 4,200 citations only got the $50 fine. Let me get through it. So fines and fine revenue, state law fine amount. So for as we talked, as I just said, first violation in 12 months, $50. Additional violations within 12 months goes up to $75. There's an electronic processing fee on all payments of $15, and that goes to the company. So I'm not hiding there. Thank you.
Can I ask can I
Let's
ask
just
the
finish.
please? Can I ask
Hey,
that
let
we
me just
please be
let me just speak for
respectful?
1 minute. Let me just speak for 1 minute. My name is Mike Paris. I'm the chief of police. And I ask, I can understand why we're here and I understand the frustration. But listen, just for a second. Just for a second. Just for a second, please. If you could please respect the presenters as they speak. After the presenters speak, we'll give you the opportunity to talk. It's not like we're shutting you up, but let's just let the presenters speak and then we'll go from there. This is supposed to be productive and we want this to work. So let's just go with this product and then we'll go from there.
I'm going to
Okay.
ask everybody to please, we're going to have time for questions and answers. We want to give you the information and a time for public comment. It is only
I'm
7:30.
trying.
But
I'm trying.
Yeah, please.
Trying. No points, no insurance contact on photo enforced signs. Fine revenue, and I'm being very transparent. Everything's out here. Fine revenue. This is in the contract. So first $1,000 in fine revenue per camera per month goes to the town. So if there's one violation that happens in the entire month, town gets all the money. The next $995 goes to Ultimate, our company. Anything above that stays in the town. State law, revenue use. This isn't state law, this is required. Any fund shall be used for improving transportation mobility, investing in transportation infrastructure improvements, and paying the cost of the program. So that's the three things that you can use revenue from the program for. Comparing offenses. What does this look like with photo enforcement versus an officer? You go through a school zone at 11 over. As we talked about, the fine's $50 for the first one with a speed camera, $75 for anyone after that in 12 months. No points, no insurance. If an officer pulls you over at 11 over in a school zone, it starts at $263, goes up to $386. You do get points and your insurance company will be notified. No parking in the beach area, which I learned this in the process, so I won't do that. Fine amount is $200. There's no points, no insurance. So just to compare where the fines are. Appeal defenses by state law. Again, this is written out in state law. If you get a ticket and you want to appeal, and this is a legitimate ticket, it's not like the plate's wrong or something like this. This is you've broken the law, everything's matches. These are the 6 defenses, and I'll go through them. The operator was driving an emergency vehicle, obviously an ambulance or a police car going through. The traffic control signal was inoperative. So this is more for the red light cameras. So we've all been to an intersection where it may be flashing yellow, flashing red, whatever the case may be. That's what that means. Operator to comply with an order of a direction from a law enforcement official. Same intersection. Usually this is a red light cameras, not speed. But if you're at an intersection and the flashing lights are, the power's out or something, law enforcement's waving you through, that's not a violation. If you have to pull over and get out of the way to allow for an authorized emergency vehicle, and we've done this too, everybody's had to pull over before. And that's what this is for. Again, usually that's for red light cameras as well because you're trying to clear an intersection. Motor vehicle's been reported as stolen. Fair enough. And then the last one is the safety device was not in compliance with calibration, and that's on us. So we have to make sure, and this is more for speed, not necessarily red light cameras, that our radars are calibrated independently by a third party on an annual basis. So we literally pull the radar out, send it off to a third party, it comes back. So that one's on us, and every violation will have the calibration record in it. You'll have the date on that as well. Fewer speeders. Look, the program's working. We talked about the speed can be a dangerous factor that can be controlled. 80% improvement came with no fines at all. 80% reduction just during the warning period. And in the first 2 months, your most dangerous drivers have slowed down and the repeat offenders have stopped. And 190,000 people did not violate the law in May and June. That's the end of my presentation. I know you may have some questions, but I'll let somebody else handle that. Thank you.
want to introduce. I'm sorry. I want to introduce Chief Paris. Mike Paris is the Chief of Police. He commands a team of 117 officers, 14 civilians, and 33 special officers for a combined force of 164 people. This is embarrassing. I am embarrassed.
Can we please, can we please let the chief speak?
Good evening, everyone. I take the microphone away from the podium because I'm not going to give a prepared speech. I want you to hear from me as Mike Paris, from my heart, and explain to you my experience. I can only go based on what experience shows me, and I think that's how we should live life. I'm a 20-year police officer, the now chief of police. My experience started off in something other than traffic. But at some point in my career, I became a certified crash reconstructionist while becoming the sergeant of this traffic unit in our town. And like the first select person said before, we in Fairfield are lucky enough to have a strong, dedicated group of officers specifically targeting traffic enforcement. I take pride in this type of work because of a couple things. And again, just hear me out. I'm here to talk to you from my experience. As people travel the road in our town, our great town, we have officers dedicated to enforcing speed. One of the targets, speed. I have seen speed kill too many people. And the speed of vehicles in this town, as you all can imagine, is not slowing. We as police officers, and a quick show of hands, who has been driving for 70 years in this, or 70 years? Just real quick. Any more than 70? 70. Who's been driving for more than 70 years? 70 years. 71. First of all, thank you for traveling safe throughout our town. I would have never expected in my career, in my 20-year career, of some type of technology like this. I became chief a year ago, and in full transparency, was skeptical of this type of program. So just listen for a second. I was skeptical of this program, and I could base my experience based on fact. I know that during my traffic time, I've knocked on too many doors of people who have died in motor vehicle crashes, all hours of the day, from 3 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock in the morning to 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's a saddening reality that we have in this town. Speed is killing people who reside in our town. Our officers today, who are supposed to be here to assist us, are on a tragic crash right now of a bicyclist struck by a vehicle. It's something to concern about. We use tools in this town, and one of the tools that we have at hand at this point is this traffic camera, which is being installed throughout the state of Connecticut as we speak. We're seeing towns install them bordering us. People are watching us. People are seeing how things are going. And they too are having these reactions. So I'm not surprised, and I am there with you. But let's look at the numbers. What's so important to remember is that the numbers are lowering. And they're lowering, yes, you may say they're lowering because people are going around that area, and they're not going in that area anymore. But if you look at your speedometer, everyone here is probably recognizing that you're maybe traveling too fast, including myself. That is the reality. It's slowing traffic down. Now, the areas that are occurring that may be picking up speed are being monitored by our traffic unit. We are not ignorant to the fact that this may cause issues in other areas of town. However, our traffic unit and our officers are using their tools that they have to do that. And now we don't have to worry about our most vulnerable area because we know, because we see the numbers, that traffic is going slow within our school zones. We're able to dedicate our time to certain areas that are actually happening with tragic motor vehicle crashes. That's where we dedicate our time. I don't want to belabor this, and I will be here for you to answer questions. And I know the skepticism that comes around with technology. It's normal to have that reaction. But as we move forward, let's look each time and look at each experience that we face to a tool to slower traffic in our town. I've heard that over and over again. What are you doing to slow traffic in our town? Why are we putting speed bumps in our town? Why are we not putting speed humps? Why are stop signs not being put in areas to slow traffic down? There's something called the MUTCD. It's called the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. And I know this because I'm a crash reconstructionist. I reconstruct crashes for my career. And that manual is essentially the Bible for our town. And it's the Bible for the town signage. And it's the Bible for how we're supposed to put certain things that is approved by the state of Connecticut. I don't want to do something that is going to put us in a position that is going to be vulnerable or liable to lawsuit, et cetera, because of these signage being put in certain spots. For example, we've heard about people wanting flashing lights in front of their house where these speed zones are. And yes, that's something that we consider, but I also want to be considerate of the fact that this is a residential area where people are living. Can you imagine living in front of a flashing yellow sign all day long? And I'm just being cognizant of that. That's the only reason for delay. Now, the signs that are flashing on state roads, which is a state requirement for flashing lights, is because of the reduced speed limit. It's not because of the location of speed cameras. It's because the reduction of speed limit on state roadways require, by state law, flashing lights. Here's the other side of the coin. The schools are open and closed at certain times of the day. I don't want to give people the false impression that flashing lights are now causing concern for speed cameras and only speed cameras. I want it to be used as the manual tells us to use it. So again, let us just evaluate this program as it goes forward. We give our recommendations to the Fairfield Traffic Authority as they're brought about. I'll be the first person to say that this is not working if it's not working. But it's not working. It's not working in your opinion, potentially because you don't like the fine. And I get it. I get that. But let's look at the factual data. The factual data is showing that those particular areas and where these speed cameras are located are slowing. But again, these traffic officers are not going to be pushed out into the camera business. They're still doing their police work. Speed bumps. Let's talk quickly about speed bumps. And here's one thing. And again, this is just my experience talking about speed bumps and speed humps and things like that. There was a community that had speed bumps in their town. And that community experienced people complaining about traffic. So they said, let's put speed bumps in on a regular roadway. The neighbors now heard brum 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 all day long, right? Okay, maybe not that big of a deal. A school bus driver driving over the speed bump, drives over the speed bumps, kids come up off the speed bump, hit their head on the roof. One example. Second example. Second example. My point is that there's not one overall fix. There's not one overall fix to this. This is a culmination of things to do. And this is just one tool. Again, as things progress, we will make suggestions as we see it from the police department. We have no buy-in here. I don't get 1 cent from it. And I don't want it. I don't even want to talk about revenue because the police should not be even concerned about it. It's been our life for a long time. By pulling people over, they say, you know, you could make a lot of money here if you go and stop people here. I've heard it over and over again in my career. And it's insulting because I don't want the cash. I'd rather have no violations and nobody giving any cash or revenue to us. I'd rather have 0 violations to lower the speed. Again, I won't belabor this. This is me just talking from my heart. I hope you can understand our experience as police and what we're doing in our town, but we do love this town. We do love you all for hoping to ride the safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
We are going to go through the Q&A that people filled out when they came in, because I know that the people came here with questions. You'll have an opportunity to talk, but let's try to give you as much information as we can right now. So I think I ask you to please just keep an open mind. We all love this community, as the chief said. We want to be safe. Like it or not, the data is showing that people are that are speeding. So let's go to the Q&A.
You guys. My name's Christine Brown. I'm a resident of this town. I used to be on the RTM. I work in town hall now. Everybody up on this panel is really dedicated and trying hard to be here to answer questions for you about this program. So I would really appreciate it if we could be respectful and civil in this discourse. This is not going to be the only opportunity that you have to talk about this. For the past 2 months and going forward, we take phone calls and emails from constituents every day, and we answer them as quickly as we can. I can't hear you when you're just.
Christine, let's go to the questions and answers.
So
We appreciate that, that
we
we've
have
gotten.
like about, I don't know, 200 questions. I mean, we've tried to group them into categories. And if I don't ask your exact question, I'm reading one that somebody wrote in that category. So let's start with what Mike was talking about, the flashing lights. Why can't we have flashing lights warning us when the speed is to be reduced to 20 miles an hour? It's difficult to go 20 miles an hour, but more difficult to remember what hour speed is reduced at different hours for different locations.
Why can't we just go up and ask the questions ourselves? Why do we have to? Like seriously, are we children?
You are not children, but this is a room full of people. Many of you have the same questions. We're just trying to get you answers. We've heard questions about the flashing lights from the beginning. The chief spoke about it. Why we didn't go that route from the start. And I think that there's also some confusion potentially that when you have a school zone sign with the reduced speed and the light is flashing, that means that you're supposed to go the reduced speed. There's concern that residents may expect there to be a flashing light to indicate that speed cameras are active, which would mean that they would need to be 24/7, which I don't think that we want in a residential area, as the chief shared in the decision-making of why we didn't go that route from the beginning.
Sherry, take the question. I have the question. Yeah.
We're going to go with the residents first, please. I mean, well, we're,
We do have some questions about revenue. We do have some questions about revenue.
Well, we know that there's been questions about revenue, so we will go and answer questions about revenue. Christine, do you have?
Yeah, what are you doing with the revenue?
So the revenue that is being collected, as shared in the presentation, it is budgeted for. It was budgeted in the fiscal year 26 budget, and it has been budgeted in the fiscal year 27 budget. We know, as much as we would love there to be zero revenue, we're being realistic that based on the warning period and based on just anecdotal evidence and information from our police department, that people are speeding. So to be responsible, we need to budget for that, which we did. It is in the operating budget for it was 1.1 for fiscal year 26. We will answer that question in terms of, and I'm going to let, and so it is in the operating budget, and we will be identifying road improvements to offset that revenue. Things like paving, sidewalk improvements, complete streets initiatives, the cost of running the program, the staff that we are hiring to review the citations. So the revenue is not, it has to be used for specific items, and we need to report that out to the state. So that question is out there. It's not, we can't use it to hire new people. We can't use it to build a playground. It's very specific for traffic and road safety. It's road safety infrastructure.
Christine, maybe you could comment on if we weren't using this revenue from the speed cameras, and how would we be paying for those items?
Yes, it is in the operating budget. So it is, if we did not have this revenue budget in the operating budget, two things would happen. We would need to raise that revenue, most likely through property taxes, which means your taxes will go up. Or this is just the reality of budgeting, or we would have to do away with some services. Things come with a cost, and we have revenue, and there's an offsetting expense, such as paving, that we are using this revenue to offset that expense. The $15 fee that goes to Ultimate, that is, they handle the mailing, they handle the
You guys,
collection,
we have a really full room and people
they
can't.
handle the collection. So they have back office functions that come with the cost. And that $15, it's not like a credit card fee. It's to cover the operating expenses to issue the warnings and the citations.
How about, there have been a lot of questions about why the cameras are operating 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, even though school may not be in session. Would someone like to address that?
Yeah, if you want, I'll answer that one.
You want to answer that one, Chief?
So the question came about why are the cameras running 24 hours a day? And I think each community is working this based upon what their community is seeing. We have seen the most horrific crashes at 3 o'clock in the morning. And what's concerning me is that minus the speed camera, it's still a speed limit. We still have to obey the law. Why? So the speed limit is set in our town. We are not enforcing the 20-mile-per-hour limit on those 24 hours a day. It's only set throughout the town, the time that's there on the sign for the school zone, but it's the 25 miles per hour, which you should be doing at all hours of the day. If you're traveling over the speed limit, you're violating the law. We shouldn't pick and choose when we should violate the law and when we should not. I think that's why it's the simplest answers.
We have a couple questions. We have a couple questions about the bidding process. Who approved Ultimate as the vendor? Were others considered for cheaper processing fees? And why does it cost $15 to process? Jason, would you like to address that?
So who approved Ultimate as the vendor? The town, obviously. Were there others considered for cheaper processing fees?
Yeah, Christine, do you want to just comment on the RFP process?
This went out through the purchasing. It went out to bid. We had 2 bidders. 3? No,
3 bidders.
I'm gonna,
I'm sorry, there were 2 bidders. There was a 3rd vendor who dropped out before the bid. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
all right. The other bidder was Blue Light. I don't remember off the top of my head. It's posted on the purchasing website, the RFP and the bids that were received. So that it's public information for you to see. I was not involved in selecting the vendor. The vendor was selected through the town's purchasing policy and process and approved by the Board of Selectmen in June of 2025.
I usually look at those. I don't remember this one. I know when a Greenwich Blue Line charges $20 per paid citation, I think. Why does it cost $15 to process when most of this is automated? So it is, so the $15 electronic processing fee is authorized by the state. It's more than just processing. It's everything, right? You have equipment, you have processing, you have mail charges, you have printing charges, everything on the back office. So that encompasses all of that.
There were some questions about privacy. I'm sure you're all aware that these types of surveillance cameras are being destroyed all over I think they meant deployed all over the country. No one wants their rights violated, and that's exactly what these cameras are doing. I know that part of your presentation, Jason already covered the data privacy. Do you want to reiterate? Nope.
Yeah, I think the question's been answered.
Okay. A lot of these have been answered. Those are about clock, that's been answered.
We're waiting for the restroom.
Sure. I'm not sure what you said.
We are, ma-
Yeah.
we
Yeah,
are,
we can do
we
that.
will be, ma'am, we will take public comment. But there were residents who filled out questions when they came in. And we want to make sure that we are getting questions that were asked by multiple people answered. We're here because we want to hear from you.
Okay.
We do.
We thought that it would be helpful to have people write their questions down ahead of time because obviously so many of them were similar. If you don't feel that's helpful, then let's change up the
Yeah,
format.
we will,
Sir,
we will be happy to open up the mic. There is no reason. There's no reason to yell. We will open up the mic.
so let's do this. If the people who want to ask a question could step up to the microphone, we'll,
Thank you.
yeah, sure. We will, normally the way we do public comment and questions is 2 minutes. So if you can limit your comment to 2 minutes so that we can get to the people in line, I think that would be great.
Hi, we're all here for the safety of the children and the citizens of the town. Can everyone hear me? I'm sorry. I had a home in Bucks County, Pennsylvania for 48 years. we had flashing yellow lights. I'm not against the speed cameras. Chief Mike, I disagree when you say they're flashing all day. They're flashing, they're telling me when kids are there. The flashing yellow lights would help early dismissal, when it's a different time, when there's special events at the school, Riverfield, when they have Patriot Day, there's a lot of people coming 9:30 in the morning, leaving at 1:30. The speed cameras don't cover that. During the summer, you want to take care of the kids going to the special events in the summer. There's literacy programs. There are summer camps. The cameras could be turned on by the schools and it would be safer in that area when you see the flashing yellow lights. If someone's coming down from Easton or Milford to go to the train station on Mill Plain Road, they have a different school schedule. I have the school schedules with me than Fairfield has. The yellow lights would help people know when they have to slow down. I want to slow down. I don't want to break the law. People are coming off of Merritt Parkway. The yellow lights on Jefferson, that was the highest number there for Notre Dame. They're coming off, they're going fast. Their mind's on getting to classes, whatever they have to do. Flashing yellow lights would wake them up, slow down. I think everyone here wants it safe. There are other questions. I'm still in business, even though I've driven 68 years. I didn't make the 70-year cut, unfortunately. I will hopefully. If you could add the yellow lights as the next step, that would add a lot to the safety of the kids, the parents. Sarah is here. Do you mind kids go to Riverfield. She's been very helpful from the Selectman office. I don't think you'd mind the yellow lights. It helps the safety of your children going to Riverfield and the state.
Thank you.
Thank you. We all want to live in safe communities with safe streets, but is surveillance technology and artificial intelligence needed to achieve this? Speed cameras and automatic license plate readers, or ALPR cameras, are forms of surveillance technology. There is some confusion. There is some confusion on the difference between these types of cameras. While speed cameras measure speed, capture evidence of speeding violation, and issue fines, ALPR cameras do something different. ALPR cameras read license plates and use artificial intelligence systems to catalog the make, model, color, and license plate of every car that passes. This is referred to as a dragnet of surveillance, gathering data on everyone to catch one car thief. It doesn't matter what your political affiliation is, they capture everybody. The Fairfield Police Department's website lists flock safety as the ALPR uses at various locations throughout town. But whether it's flock safety, Axon, Altumans, when you drive past one of these cameras, you are a data point within a database and part of a massive warrantless digital dragnet operated by a third party. More than 100,000 of these ALPR cameras are already installed nationwide on highways, in neighborhoods, and outside stores. There are approximately 500 ALPR cameras in Connecticut alone. Fairfield has at least 40. The American Civil Liberties Union has raised concerns about the misuse of ALPR cameras and highlighted many examples of how this mass surveillance tool is being weaponized and abused by law enforcement. ICE have used ALPR to go after immigrants without warrants. Kansas police used them to pursue a man who wrote a critical op-ed about the department.
Could you conclude?
Colorado, I'll be very quick. Colorado police wrongfully accused a woman of theft based on flock hit and then refused to look at evidence proving her innocence. Windsor and Killingsworth, Connecticut have recently suspended their ALPR camera programs. There are efforts in Norwalk and Hartford to remove their programs. 86 municipalities have canceled or suspended ALPR contracts. The Los Angeles Police Department has recently canceled its contract with Flock. Fairfield doesn't need AI surveillance technology. I'll end with this, please. In light of the potential dangers of this AI technology, I request that the town of Fairfield schedule public hearings and discussions on the AL cameras as soon as possible. I'd be happy to share more details. Thank you very much.
Even though we're not here to talk about ALPRs, but the chief wants to address this topic.
I know you don't want to hear it, but if your loved one was involved in a crime, as many have happened in the town of Fairfield, I would, if God forbid my loved one were involved in a crime or a victim of a crime, and my loved one needed to have closure, as many people do in our town, people who have been victimized to forgery, elderly people who have had their entire life savings taken from them. I would hope that you'd want every piece of technology used by our police department to find that criminal. If you don't, I'm not sure what world you're living in, but this is important for us to use the technology available to us. And one more thing to comment. We are not Kansas City Police Department. We are the Fairfield Police Department, and we hold our officers to that standard. If our officers are doing something that is inappropriate, they're held accountable. That's the basis of ALPRs. I could understand again that. Okay, I'm sorry that we're trying to do and use every tool possible to capture criminals that are committing criminal acts in this town. But I'll end it there.
I just want to remind everybody that speed safety cameras are different from ALPRs. So that is we're talking about two different items. And for the folks online, I'm sorry, I forgot to say, could you please just state your name and address for the record?
So my name is Tom Zoen. I'm not going to give you my name is Tom Zoen. I'm not going to give you my address. I do want to say thank you to Police Chief Paris, even though I think your boss is an idiot. However, that being said, I will say this. I did actually just recently read 1984 again, and I will say that there are too many similarities between these new cameras and everything else that's going on in that book. Also, I want to point out that every day you got pointed out the scooters, right? So why are we allowing kids under 16 to ride these scooters? Why? I mean, what kind of hold on, what kind of common sense does that make for a kid who's not able to have a frontal lobe thinking process to be out there on the road like that? If anything, your town is putting these people in danger and not us drivers, to be honest with you. That being said, there were 4 fatalities since 2024 in Fairfield in what is known as pedestrian versus vehicle fatalities on the Post Road and Kings Highway, areas that have 0 license plate cameras. I just want to point that out, to be honest with you. And I am an everyday citizen. I do not have a record. I'm sorry, maybe some people here do. I have nothing against people who've been incarcerated. However, I don't feel safe knowing every time that I go to work, the town knows what time I'm going to work. I don't feel safe knowing that every time I come home, the town knows exactly what my route is. That is 1984, my friend. And let me tell you, when your next election comes up, you don't have me and my family members as representative for you anymore.
Hi, my name is Eric. I live in Fairfield. Everybody knows that traffic fatalities and incidences went down for a substantial period of time. And then what happened? Cell phones, texting. So is your next move to confiscate our cell phones? I mean, that's going to address the problem, right? Because the cell phones caused the increase in fatalities. Okay? So what I want to know is, has there been a substantial increase in fatalities or incidences in the school zones that precipitated the installation of the speed cams? Do we have those statistics?
We,
Hi, can you hear me? Hector Azari, I'm in charge of the traffic unit. And my answer to that is 0 kids have been killed in school zones. I'm not going to wait until a kid is killed in a school zone to act. My job is to be proactive in enforcement and not reactive. Because how would you like that to be your kid that got killed in a school zone, and we had this technology in hand and we didn't utilize it or do everything in our power to prevent it?
Second question. Why is this public hearing happening after the installation of the speed cameras and not prior to, as you had represented in your proposal?
The public hearings that we submitted to OSTA, we had numerous public meetings. There were RTM meetings where the ordinance was passed. There was Fairfield Traffic Authority meetings. The Police Commission back in November of 2023 was acting as the traffic authority where the school zones were set for these 6 school zones. And when a school zone is set, that means it is eligible to have an ATSD camera in that zone. The Board of Selectmen approved the permitting for the cameras. The RTM had multiple meetings to review the plan as well. And I,
Okay.
and
Okay.
not to mention the numerous Board of Finance, those are all public meetings where public comment was able to be given. It's not a public hearing like this, but in terms of OSTA and the application, that met the, that is not what I'm saying. You are welcome to every public meeting. Your voices do matter. I was not the first select person in 2023 when a lot of this work was being done. Realize that there's still a lot of questions, which is why we are here. We put out communication. We did press. We had press releases. We had mailings. We had the newsletter. We had social media posts. There was a warning period where thousands of people learned about this program because they were speeding. And when I say speeding, going over the 10 miles, breaking the law. I know that might be hard to hear, but breaking the law, and we're warned that you're breaking the law, and come June 1st, there will be a citation that potentially will follow.
Okay.
And despite that, there are still questions, and we said from the start, this is new. It's new for Fairfield. It's new for the state of Connecticut. It's not new for other states across the country. That as we rolled this out, we were going to take public feedback, evaluate it, and if appropriate, make adjustments. And that is why these professionals are here on a Tuesday night, answering questions, providing data, and allowing you to speak. We do want to,
Okay. Okay. All right. So we are celebrating.
I like.
No, if you guys didn't talk so much, it'd be fine, because I have very quick questions. All right? Just answer the question. You don't have to embellish it with all the hoo-ha. Okay? We are celebrating the anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. The number one issue the colonists had was taxation without representation. Do you, all of you, serve at the behest of the citizenry? Or are we merely revenue generators for you? Can we quickly get a show of hands who oppose these cams? Lastly, children typically arrive at school at a 1-hour window in the morning and leave at a 1-hour window in the afternoon. They are off all summer. Many schools employ volunteer crossing guards. Was this option ever discussed? Or are you simply interested in the revenue, which you preemptorily added to the budget before there was any revenue from the speed cams?
believe we have a representative government, that you have elected officials. The fines for the speed cameras They are not a tax. If you go the speed limit, actually, you could even go 9 miles above the speed limit and you will not be fined.
Did you?
It will be
Did
zero.
you
It
investigate
will-
the possibility of crossing
It will
guards?
it will be zero.
Volunteer crossing guards. They do it in Stratford. They do it in a lot of other towns.
We have crossing guards in Fairfield. We have crossing guards in Fairfield.
Okay? And you have 0 fatalities too. All right.
We had 2 fatalities on Reading Road. 2 fatalities. In a corridor. It was multiple things. But this is done for public safety and to save lives. And you may not like that answer and you may not believe me. But that is why we are here. Sir?
Well, my name is Mark and I live in Fairfield. I was upset because I don't think a lot of the rules were explained beforehand to people about the hours. I understand now about 24/7. Now, I'm for school safety, but this is more than school safety. It's 24/7, the cameras are on. So I don't think a lot of people understood the rules that we go by. Tonight, I understand it and I'm not disagreeing with it, but why can't we have more of those digital displays of how fast you're going around town that work? So people could see how fast you're going and there's a reason that you should slow down. You visually see how fast you're going.
Does Frank or,
And,
do you
uh,
want to
I-
comment on how we use the
Yeah,
digital
I like to
display?
comment on that. So the 24/7, obviously, the speed limit is 24/7 regardless of the day of the week or the
Right.
time. The digital speed feedback signs, when I took over traffic in 2022, we had 2 in the town of Fairfield. I increased that to 8. So now we have 8 across town that we spread around town through different problem areas as an educational tool. They do
Why
not
can't we
collect.
have more?
Well, because they definitely cost money, that's one thing. But 2, now I have money because of these speed cameras and the speeders where we could invest in more going forward. So how many of these speed feedback signs do you think we would need to cover 270 miles of roadway in the town of Fairfield? And they go in both directions. So that's 520 digital speed feedback signs where your speed speedometer tells you the speed you're driving. You should be paying attention to that and not rely on a speed feedback sign to tell you how fast you're going.
It would
The-
help.
I don't mean to cut you off, but the speed feedback signs that are throughout the town, by design are meant to move throughout the town, so that people are not used to one particular area. We have seen, through history that people will see these speed feedback signs and will just become immune to them. So those are not used to enforce anything. They're just display signs to show your speed. They're meant to move around town to problematic areas, to show your speed. There are times that we turn those signs off, the display off, and we still receive the data from it. So we're seeing what the speed is doing on that particular roadway, and then we'll turn the speed side on, and that'll tell us if traffic starts slowing, they start realizing, well, now because they see their speed, they're slowing down. It gives us a tool. So it's just another tool for us to use.
I think people knew that all the rules and regulations of all the cameras, that it was gonna
Sure.
be going on for so long.
Understood.
24/7.
Understood. And like I said to you before, I too had skepticism and concern from the beginning. But there's also something to remember when you look at things happening over a course of a period of time. Again, I will be the first person to say it is or is not working. I know you're going to say it's not working, but I'm just saying, let's look at the data. Let's show what it's actually proving. Just like those speed feedback signs, we use that data a lot to show where our enforcement efforts should take place.
And one question.
Yes, sir.
that Somebody here could answer. When they do the destruction of the lower part of Encore, when they do the construction, knock down those stores on the lower part of Encore, will Encore be closed going north? Will there be construction trucks on Uncle?
We,
Emergency
we can-
vehicles will have to go? a
we could
different
take that question offline if you'd like. We could talk to you about that after.
Well, will emergency vehicles that have to go up Uncle?
None of that's been decided yet.
Well, how could you be concerned about emergency vehicles going up Uncle if they can't? Where
The town's
have to
very
go a few
concerned
minutes
about
out
that.
of their way, that could, someone could die
Yeah,
in those few
The
minutes.
town's very concerned about that. We'd be
So
happy to
will-
talk to you about that offline.
No, will Uncle be closed for traffic?
There's,
How will emergency vehicles go up?
So, so the question, I think, the question that is being posed is why will Uncle Road be closed during construction on Uncle Road going north? I think there's gonna be times where, yes, that's going to be closed, just like any other roadway, if there's a water main break or things like that. We as emergency responders,
See vehicles, ambulances, fire trucks will not be able to go up.
not necessarily true, not necessarily true. There's options to close one side of the roadway and the emergency vehicles will go on the other. We take this in consideration when construction projects, especially large construction projects, are taking place. We have our traffic team evaluate this to see what is the best route for us to get to a certain location.
Straight. So in other words, Uncle will not be
Sir,
closed.
Let's
Sir.
go on to the next question, but you can talk to me after, and I'll talk to you. Let's just go on to the next question. You can talk to me after.
Hi, everybody. I'm Jody from Fairfield. So they say tyranny comes in the form of convenience, and these cameras are easily hacked. They use software that's been updated years ago. They still use it. It retains our data. It does facial recognition. It does, and it retains this information. And flock cameras are invested by Peter Thiel from Palantir, who's creating a digital gulag. And people, and I want to tell people in Michigan, they did this, they didn't renew the contract and they got rid of the camera. So, and if you noticed, most of the people here held up their hands for one reason or another. This is wrong. This is making a digital gulag. I'm sick of it. And I think a lot of people are as well.
I just,
Pam, ma'am,
Hello,
go ahead.
my name's Robin. I'm from Fairfield. My name is Robin. I'm from Fairfield. And what I want to talk about is the reason for people violating. And I think the reason is a lack of mindfulness in the moment. And what I think is most relevant, if you really care about protecting these children, if that's the sole reason, is have something that's proactive, not reactive. Having speed bumps, I don't believe that that fact that kids hit their heads when a bus goes over a speed bump, unless the bus driver is speeding. And people would learn very quickly that it's going to damage their cars. They're going to be more alert. And if you combine that with lights and some warning thing that you're in a school zone, I would suspect that you'd have a higher rate of people not violating. It would be better for the children, better for the town.
Frank, do you want to just comment on how the number of speed bumps that are required in a corridor?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
So I didn't fully hear your question.
Do you want to
Christine,
just
sorry.
comment on the number of speed bumps and how that works to slow traffic?
So, I mean, one of the issues with speed bumps is the number of them you need to install because people speed up in between them. There's also requirements on what type of roadway you put them on per federal highway. So you're not going to put them on a larger volume road, such as like Mill Plain or Umpqua, so they wouldn't apply there. They're also expensive. So like I said before in my presentation, there's multiple tools in the toolbox. We do look at other things. Education is one of those things, but so are these cameras. I understand. I just would like to reiterate, the only people paying money based on these cameras are going more than 10 miles an hour over the posted speed limit. They're breaking the law and they're going over the speed limit, and speed kills. So if you don't want us to collect money from them, slow down.
Sir? Sir,
Hi,
Yep, it's on.
I'm speaking. My name is Anthony. I've lived in town a long time. Okay, can everybody hear this? Okay, good. So my question is a little bit different, and I have probably more than one question. But the first question is, with all the focus on motorists and speeding and endangering the children, what is being done? What protections are being put in place? What education is being put in place? What penalties are being put in place for bicyclists, motor scooterists, and scooter riders who I watch on a daily basis violate every traffic law imaginable? Because, and case in point, as recently as yesterday, I was on Tamor Drive going towards Lake Mohegan. Two kids on motorbikes came out of Lakeview Drive, which is a downhill with a stop sign, came right out. The car in front of me had a jam on their brakes. Fortunately, they were able to stop. So I see that happening at four-way intersections where they blow through with not even slowing down. I was always taught as a bicycle rider, you observe the rules of the road because you're on something that has wheels. So I don't understand why these folks, and the worst thing I saw was driving up Mill Plain Road, somebody driving on a bicycle against traffic with earbuds in and texting. So, and nobody sees this.
I'll answer that, just the first part. I'm not cutting you off, so hold
Okay,
off,
no, that's
hold off
fine.
on your other questions,
That's
but
fine.
I'll answer that one. We talk about e-bikes, e-scooters, et cetera, that are occurring in town. One thing I will not allow, I will not permit, is my officers to chase a 12-year-old on an e-bike who refuses to stop for police and allow them to get into a motor vehicle crash and die. So just real quick, I will not allow my officers to do that. However, I do think, and I see this happen a lot, and this discussion has already been taking place. When you are a parent and you're buying your child essentially an electric motorcycle and they're 13 years old and you're allowing them to leave your driveway with an e-bike, it is irresponsible and haphazard to your children.
Oh,
With that said, in order for the police to make action and to take action against these kids who are not stopping for us, they're running from us. In order for us to take action on that, we've already talked in discussions with the RTM. I would like a town ordinance to occur that if your child is driving a motorbike that you know is illegal and they're injured in a crash, we're going to fine you. The parents should be held responsible at that point. And that's what we'll do. But I don't want to, I got to be completely honest. People are running from us in vehicles and we're not chasing them. I will not.
all right, stop interrupting. For the love of God, shut the fuck up. Please go ahead.
I just don't think it's appropriate for our officers to chase a 12-year-old.
No, and I get that, but is there any education that can be
Yes.
had when, motorbikes are probably easier than bicycles, but where parents are involved in
Yes.
having some training and saying, you're accountable for this.
Yes, sir.
Because I know you can't chase people on bicycles and motorbikes. Obviously, that creates a bigger risk, but by default, it gives parents permission structure to do nothing. I commented on this on that duck farm thing, the blog, and a parent actually wrote to me and said, "Oh, lay off. The kids are just having fun."
Yeah.
Really, when your kid gets run over by somebody and it's not their fault, is it going to
Yeah,
be so much
they're
fun?
riding 2 to 3 a bike,
Right.
at a
Well,
time.
Yeah,
And
riding tandem in the middle of the road.
Yes, sir.
I've seen it all.
our school unit is has an educational piece to this, and we do so. We ask the parents and we talk with the parents and we discuss with them regarding the safety of
Okay,
e-bikes.
I do have I have two different questions, quick. The fines that are being collected, is there going to be a disclosure on what was actually received versus what was projected?
That's not for me to answer, so I'm going to sit down.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll be reporting out
Okay.
on revenues. It's part of the budget
Okay.
for transparency, and that's part of the reason why we budgeted for it.
And then the
So
fun question, which has nothing to do with me, but somebody asked me to ask this. If somebody gets a violation notice with a fine and they don't pay it, other than being reported to a credit reporting agency, what happens?
it's going to collections, and that's it.
Okay, thank you. And again, I understand we all want safety. I don't think anybody wants to see people hurt or injured. I don't think, even if it wasn't my fault, I don't know that I could live with that. But it is, I just wish parents would be more responsible in teaching the right things.
And we have a Safe Streets Alliance. We have a group of stakeholders. We've been working with the schools, working with the police, the fire department to try to get that education piece for parents and for students. But as the chief said, it's difficult. We want to keep our kids safe, and having police officers chase 12-year-olds around town is not a safe
Okay, thank you.
situation for anybody. Thank you for the question.
Sir.
Hi, my name is Dom. I'm from Fairfield. So I drive a Chevy Suburban. Who thinks I speed? I have a fishing pole in the back. I don't speed at all. The reason I'm here is because of the cameras. I'm not a guy who likes cameras, okay? And I don't even like these guys videotaping me, okay? So that's why I'm here. I sent an email to this gentleman here, Kevin Kiley. I gave him constructive questions. I asked about the actual application to the state. The speed study that was done in the summer. It was done July 15th, 2025. But it was, from what I saw, it seemed to be done against the new speed limits that are put for the school zones. So the speeds seemed to be like, it was showing that people were speeding, but it was happening in the summer when people are driving regular hours. So Mill Plain Road is a 30-mile-per-hour speed limit, right? So I asked the question. I didn't really get any feedback except for we want to make sure kids are safe. I personally want the kids to be safe too. I'm here because I want my daughter to live in a world without cameras. I want her to be able to run around the streets, be able to have like some privacy, like have a joke with her friends, right? That's why I'm here. So I also had a question on the crash. Like, we keep talking about success because we're looking at speed. We're saying speed has dropped dramatically, right? But if we're looking at Vision Zero, right, we're looking like I measure data. For 20 years in my career, I've been measuring data. I'm a data engineer. I work for a hedge fund, right? And so I look at the data. I put all the data on a map, and like for me, the KPI is a crash, right? And then on top of that, it's a crash with an injury, right? Or a fatality, right? So when we're looking at, say, hey, we had an 83% reduction in speed. That's not success. If you go to the Autobahn, is that a success? No, right? People speed on the Autobahn, it's still not risky, right? So the actual KPI we should be looking at is how did the crashes improve? Did in June, did we have less crashes? That Officer Paris just said there was just a tragic accident today, right? So why did that accident still happen, right? And I think that that's different. And when you look at the traffic data and the crash data, they aren't happening in the school zones because we have crossing guards, as some gentleman mentioned, right? They're actually happening on Black Rock Turnpike. They're happening on the Post Road, right? They're happening on the highway because we're overdeveloped, right? We have too many people in here, and people are. We're having a hard time. So that's kind of my feedback. I don't know if you have any answers to that, but that's what I have to say. I'll send you another email. Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Thank you.
State Senator Tony Huang, and I want to acknowledge all of you on that panel who has taken their day to provide this information. So I'm appreciative. I'm also appreciative of the crowds that are here today in the middle of a 90-degree day and in July. All right. And so I think it is important for this panel to recognize that this is a very important and emotional issue. However, I must say for everyone that is here, we are better than this right now. We are better than this, whether you agree, disagree, emotional, you've been fined, and you feel has an encroachment. We are a community, and we should be civil and respectful to each other. It is really important for us more than ever to not make excuses, say the national rhetoric and all the others that are happening excuses us in our conduct, particularly for us as a community and neighbors with each other. So I ask that we can disagree, and be very, very engaged. But please be respectful of people that have made the effort, whether you agree with them strongly or not. And you will see that the struggle with this is, we talk about transparency. And what was mentioned earlier is the fact that there were multiple hearings. Well, this should be a loud and clear signal to you that those meetings were not communicated. They were not. So you can have 20 meetings, but when people don't hear it and they get the shock and awe of May and getting a fine to alert them that this is happening, and then June 1st to kick in. And I appreciate Mr. Norton's analysis. Data, very compelling. But as I remember in stats class, there's lies, there's darn lies, and then there's statistics. When you use statistics to justify, and without a doubt, those streets have seen market decline. But unfortunately, as I've driven in town, other streets have seen the same culture of speeding. We are defeating the purpose of changing the culture of speeding. And that's the focus here. Let us not lose the focus here, as we have a culture of speeding that did not get here overnight. Cameras are a supplement. There's education, enforcement, I think. Before I go, I think it's important to take a step to applaud our law enforcement. The men and women that are out in the streets bear the brunt of this, and you can see that by tonight's interaction. Our police department does not deserve this kind of barrage for some of the bad policies and execution. But let me go and share. Let me go.
Hey. Let's let the senator.
This is your elected official. Let me do this. I am the ranking member of the Transportation Committee in the General Assembly. I co-wrote the 2023 Vision Zero legislation. I absolutely supported it. I articulated the language because roadway safety is paramount. And as Chief Paris said, one life lost is one life too many, particularly when it is a preventable tragedy, just as substance and drunken driving is as well. That being said, when we implemented the law, we emphasized to allow municipal governance to design, to understand the unique challenges and characteristics of each town. And we insisted that there were frequent, transparent public meetings. I understand that. Let me follow up by saying, I have asked for a pause. And the pause should be to listen to the people who we should be representing. And I believe the traffic authority has an incredible opportunity to lead in creating a roadmap that emphasizes safety, changes the culture and education. I think another critical solution that needs to be done is, you cannot, and when we wrote the bill, I know that, when we wrote the bill, we emphasized that the money should be set aside in a special account and not included in the budget, because it creates a perception. So again, it's an opportunity to pause. And if you have seen by this crowd and by the inaction that this is an opportunity for us to pause and implement a program that's sustainable and prevents any bit of tragedy. So that being said, I stand ready to be supportive, engaged, and help in any way. But most important of all, I think it's important to recognize that the decorum and how we conduct ourselves and interact as community members needs to be respected. And most importantly, for elected officials to shout out, to make comments, it is disrespectful. And to you being up there in the panel, I want to thank you for taking your time and bearing the brunt of it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Wong.
Kevin?
Yes, ma'am.
Kevin?
Good evening. I'll take this opportunity to respond. Thank you, Senator Wong, for your comments. My name is Kevin Kiley. I am the chairman of the Fairfield Traffic Authority. The Fairfield Traffic Authority was established by the RTM via town ordinance and supported by state enabling legislation in 2025. In effect, the Fairfield Traffic Authority has taken over the responsibility from the Police Commission, who used to serve as the local traffic authority, approving signs, road markings, lights, and all of those good things to keep our roads safe and keep our families and drivers safe. I'm also a member of the Police Commission here in town for the last 8 years. The role of the Fairfield Traffic Authority is very simple. We are your safeties and partners. We are your partners in safety, excuse me. We are here in a non-political, in a non-partisan way to listen, to learn, to hear from our citizens, to hear from our police, our administration, engineering, public works, and to make good, pragmatic decisions that safeguard our road, our citizens, and every driver and pedestrian in our town. A couple quick examples of some things we have recently done that fall under the umbrella that is quite large and growing. We are new. We've only been in business for about a year, so we are still experiencing what it is to be a new authority in a town that's almost 400 years old. Recently, there was a proposal to put road pavement school ahead paving road markings alongside 6 schools, the same 6 schools that have the cameras. A good idea, another layer of safety, something to help people recognize that there's a school zone ahead. We liked that idea, and we worked with Captain Irizarry, sitting right here, to not just do that, but to take that thought and push it out to all 20 schools, so that every school, whether they had a camera or not, experienced the same level of safety and road markings that these same 6 schools have in the name of equality, safety for all. More recently, on another note, a really well-constructed plan came to us to take Mill Plain Road, which is about 1.7 miles from Brookside all the way down to Umpqua, remark the road, allowing for 10-foot roads, a buffer zone, and a bicycle zone, a plan that's been worked on for a very long time. It's a good plan. However, with that plan also came the loss of parking on both sides of Mill Plain Road, all the way up from Umpqua to Brookside. Thank you. Excuse me. If you go up and down that road, there's about 175 houses. And at 2 parking spaces per house, that's roughly 350 parking spaces, give or take a few. We didn't like that. We live in a town where buildings are going up, apartments are going up, parking is scarce, and all of these other zoning issues that people are upset about. So what we did is we compromised. We took the markings, we fixed the road, we fixed the bicycle lane, but we carved out the parking in your best interest. These are the types of projects that the Fairfield Traffic Authority is working on, looking at, considering, and learning about so that we can make your roads together safer. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. I just want to let everybody know, we have this room reserved till 9 o'clock and we have a lot of people online. So I think we're going to need to limit our comments. We're not going to take questions. I mean, we're going to try and have the panelists maybe not answer. We'll just do comments. And This isn't the last opportunity for public comment, so we can have another one of these sessions. Sir?
My name is Doug. I'm a 35-year resident of Fairfield. I've been proud to live here in part because of the dedicated public servants like we have sitting on this board. And I thank you very much. You take the business of, I'm sorry? I've been living here for 35 years with my wife. We're proud to live here, in large part to the public servants who make this town so good. They're not perfect, but they are making their decisions based on data, and they are trying to do what's best, balancing a whole host of issues, and I thank you for your efforts. I'm a little embarrassed by the crowd here tonight. Like Tony, I want there to be civil discourse, as like everyone here does, and so it doesn't help. You're 30 people back here in a town of 60,000, and the fact that you can yell louder is not persuasive. So anything that can be done to improve road safety, be it cameras, be it speed bumps, whatever you think as professionals works, I am in favor of. I don't want unnecessary deaths, and that's the highest priority. I just should also note, I'm someone who commuted from Fairfield to Stamford for 35 years, mostly by bicycle, over 100,000 miles. I was hit twice by speeding vehicles. And, you know, so I have a personal qualm about speeders. But they're also bad bicyclists, and there's a scourge of kids that are running around that are on e-bikes. All of that should be dealt with. So that's my person. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you. Hi.
My name is Jonathan. Can everyone hear me? Yeah. My name is Jonathan. Over 25 years here in the town. There is an oversaturation and we just have the latest now of why it was approved to have a Porsche dealership on the Post Road. Okay, then you beat me to it. Okay, thank you for answering that. And you don't have to be so irate. I'm just asking. No. I'm just talking about traffic. Okay, here's my question. I'm not saying with this question I'm for or against the cameras. Do I think 20 miles per hour is like practically being in reverse? Okay, but my question is, you have all the data. The question is this: if I understand the reporting correctly, Greenwich canned this plan. If that is correct, how is that done? And what was the pushback and that the officials folded and got rid of the program? Please.
Thank you.
You all talk to each other, all the towns, the police, this and that. I'm asking again, not just for myself. As I said, I'm not pro, I'm not saying I'm against. But please, to hear silence after my question is something that
I don't know why Greenwich canceled their program. I don't know why Greenwich canceled their program. I honestly have no idea.
Good evening. I'm Lauren O'Brien. I'm a 26-year resident of Fairfield. I concur with Tony and that other gentleman. I really hope that we can be civil. It's not us against them. I don't think anyone in their right mind is resentful of the Fairfield Police Department. I think the frustration that you are seeing comes from what I personally consider a poor rollout of the program. I don't understand. We don't have time. I don't understand why the speed limit is 30 miles an hour in front of, I believe it's Osborne Hill, with Pansy Road being 25 miles an hour, yet Riverfield is 20 miles an hour. I appreciate Chief Paris's evaluation of the blinking lights that people live there. But, unfortunately, we are fast tracked to become bigger and bigger and bigger. And, we've got a lady that lives on Tungus Hill that has a 5-story building on 2 sides of her home. That's what the growth is all about. I think people need to consider that the propensity for children and young families to be near schools is not limited to school hours. My frustration is, I don't know what the speed limit is half the time. I came off of Lakeside Drive, I made a left, I happened to spot the cameras. I don't even think it was 50 feet before the camera that it went down to 20 miles an hour. So I think a lot of people would be a lot happier if, in fact, the town took the fine money and funneled it directly into a better rollout with better signage. And it can start slow. I don't think we have to solve the whole problem all at once. We could do the approaching a school zone, because that's what it's all about, right? Slowing down before you get in the school zone. But when you've got less than 50 feet to adjust, it's not fair. It's like a gotcha. And that's why people feel that it's a money grab.
One of the things that we have committed to was, adjusting the program as we see it. And one of those things is roadway pavement markings that say slow school zone ahead. So that's one of the things that we're considering to do. We will bring it before the FTA for approval and do so just with public comment, et cetera. So thank you for your comments, but yes, we are hearing that.
Yeah, I don't think anybody is damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. I don't care if it causes an accident, but I think that the very poor signage and,
Can I
Christine
just talk
mentioned that there were.
quickly about signage?
But
The signage, the poor signage that you talked about, when it first was enacted, we noticed the signs were really small. And our traffic team looked at those and said, this is not appropriate. And we increased the size of the sign as we could through the MUTCD. So again, recognizing that
Right.
there are certain things that we need to adjust, one of those was signage.
Right. So I think the other frustration by the town residents is you mentioned, Christine detailed the meetings. Those were procedural. This is a town meeting where residents can come forward and get information. And I have a question.
I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want to get to the next person behind you.
Yeah.
Well, so I'll end with my question, and that
Sure.
is, why is there lack of consistency between school zones? Why is Riverfield 20, but the Stilson Road is
So
40?
all schools,
Zones are
school
20.
zones in the town of Fairfield are going to be reduced to 20 miles per hour. Doesn't mean there's going to be a camera there, but all school zones are going to be reduced to 20 miles per hour. But we have to get the approval from OSTA first.
With good signage.
Yes, ma'am.
Nancy, I live in Fairfield. I did have a question that sorry. Nancy, I live in Fairfield. Mr. Kiley touched on a question I had about the mill plane, but I don't understand the answer to it about the parking with the bike lane. I don't know where people are allowed to park, because I was wondering about that, because I've seen this bike lane go in. Also, I feel like all of this is under the guise of safety with these cameras. I'm completely against the cameras and the surveillance of my family and of me. I have not received one ticket or a warning. I am somebody who drives safely, and I'm a very good driver, but it seems like you're talking about the electric bikes and these kids on electric scooters, and I understand the reasoning, but then we also allow those people on trikes to run through our town and really make scary situation for people in our town. And the police, I know, are not allowed to chase them. And I think that's a problem. I'm like, why are we not chasing them? We're the bad guys because I'm going 1 mile over the 10 mile, 11, whatever it is. I'm sorry, I'm not good at math. But anyway, that to me is a complete contradiction. Like, what are we doing? Those people on those trikes should be ticketed. This is ridiculous. What are police for? That is a violation. And the other thing I want to say is about the cameras. And also, one thing that I think is very important, FairTV, you're recording, right? You need to record, you need to have this entire meeting be shown. I don't want to see any cutouts of people booing. I want to hear it all, and everybody should hear it all, because people are not happy. And I was the one who wrote that question. I said, I hope everybody's aware that These kind of cameras are being smashed and demolished, not only here in this country and in England and in Europe. They are being smashed. People are rebelling against this stuff. This is not okay. This is not okay. I am not okay with this. This is terrible. And I want to know who approved these flock cameras. Who approved them? Was that the town? Was that the town or was it the police? How does this work? I would love an answer to that because I've been reading through these documents. They're all very, very confusing. I am not a lawyer. I need to know. And I believe what my friend in front of me said,
Ma'am?
the rollout of this has been
Ma'am?
miserable. 2
Thank you.
minutes.
Good evening. Claudia, I've been a resident for over 50 years, and I thought this was a meeting to ask questions and understand what's going on, so. Excuse me. Excuse me. I have to tell you, I'm so disappointed in the performance. We're all adults, agree to disagree, be respectful. You should be happy you live in I'm sorry, I'm digress and I apologize. I'm just so frustrated. But what I did want to say, if I may, and it's slightly off topic, I understand safety in schools is so important. I live in the beach area and Old Post Road, Old Field Road. Why? And that's only one of the stops, crosswalks. Why don't we have signage in every crosswalk? Because not only is it a state law to stop for pedestrian in a crosswalk, it is a state law to stop for pedestrian anywhere, as I'm sure you gentlemen know, as you're the police force. That doesn't, I have been almost hit several times. I stop and wait, and a gentleman almost hit me and had a police vehicle not been in the opposite side of the street. That gentleman never would have stopped. So I know you have a tough job. Thank you for being here. I'm sorry that it's not a friendly off evening because people should be respectful. So I thank you for your kindness and all that you do. I grew up in a tiny town where police are our friends. So thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. Catherine Albin. I know a little something about meetings. I served 12 years on the Board of Education from 99 to 2011, several as vice chairman, 3 as chairman. And after that, I made my way on over to the Board of Finance. So yes, the town had plenty of meetings about this. But I know as someone who sat till the late hours of the night, people don't come out to meetings until something goes wrong. That's when people know. I've talked to town officials about this really having needed snail mail into people's households because technology is great, but not every household is on the town's email list. Some people don't want to be. We don't have the budget for snail mail. I suggested using the reverse 911 to at least alert people where to find the information out. I am not certain that that's possible.
Reverse 911 should be meant for emergency. I don't want to misuse that. Yeah.
I've been told, so that's not a possibility. I would think at this point, if there is some revenue from people who speed and pay the tickets, maybe there'll be revenue for snail mail. And communication is the biggest issue that people need. I have 2 issues that I need to address. They both are about safety. One is about speeding, and I have some photos to show this panel. So a number of years ago, I had a speeding event in front of my house. It was the second of 2. The first one took out my mailboxes.
Ma'am, I'm going to ask you to wrap it up.
I will. But I do have 2 very important things that this panel needs to hear. So
I hear you,
can
but
always go to the
we've
press.
given a lot of latitude to every speaker, so I think that we are right now, but it is after 9
Kevin, I can
o'clock. We
always go
only
to-
had the room
Kevin.
until 9.
Ma'am, why don't you just come over and show us, and I'll talk to you.
I'm going to ask nobody else to please stand online. And please, if you can, your comments, just keep them to the speed cameras. If you have other issues, we are happy to speak to you afterwards.
I
Thank-
would really, let me just pause for one
Thank
minute.
you.
We're going to keep the comments to 2 minutes. The man in the baseball hat is going to be the last speaker. That puts us at 20 minutes and we really need to get out of the room.
And my name is Steve. I've been a Fairfield resident for 33 years. Never had a moving violation. I don't even think a parking ticket. I respect the law. So with that background, my comment is about the 24/7 issue. Now that was asked and Captain Irizarry and Chief Paris said, well, the laws are in effect for 24/7, so enforcement should be in effect for 24/7. Now, I totally respect that and understand that, but the laws also need to be applied in a way that's fair and consistent. And the fact is that the speed cameras cover maybe ballpark figure 2% of the town roadways. So the other 90%, I'm driving around town for 33 years. My speedometer may tick up to 36 or 37 as I'm driving on a maiden road. I'm not doing it deliberately. I'm not conscious of it. 33 years I've been doing that, never been cited, never been pulled over, nothing ever happens. You get lulled into a sense of complacency where you're not paying that close attention to your speedometer. And then suddenly you just happen to pass by a building which is closed and locked and empty, and you get nailed for a $65 ticket, doing what you've always done. So that just does not seem to me to be a fair and consistent way to apply the law. So I suggest relief during evenings and weekends and vacations and holidays when the schools are closed, some form of relief. Thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am?
Hello, my name is Beth. I'm a citizen of Fairfield. First, I want to say that I agree completely with the lady that said that snail mail was essential in this case and should have been sent out to every household and business in the town. I have reviewed some of the data regarding crashes in some speed camera zones for the years 2021 through 2024. That data, which is the town's data, includes Jefferson Street, Knapp's Highway, and Melville Avenue. It indicates that according to the town's own data, speeding was not a factor in the vast majority of accidents. In those locations, speeding was a factor in about 3% of the crashes for those years. I'm talking 2021 through 2024, which was the only data available to me, and for those three areas. Yet the town has imposed a 20-mile-per-hour speed limit on those streets. I will speak specifically about Jefferson Street because I know more about it. Jefferson Street runs between Eastern Turnpike and Park Avenue. It has at most 4 residents on it, 4 houses on it. Although it is not a terribly long street, it has 3 traffic lights on it, including one at the intersection of Jefferson and Park Avenue. That light is pedestrian controlled so that Sacred Heart students and staff, and possibly a few Notre Dame high school students and staff, can stop traffic if they wish to cross Jefferson Street.
Ma'am, that's 2 minutes.
I'm sorry, but these people spoke for a very long time.
Yeah, but ma'am,
I'm part of the public. There
ma'am,
are
I'm just trying to be respectful to the people behind you in line because we're going to need to vacate the room.
needs to be respectful to us. I'm sorry. There also are traffic lights on, please, so I can speak and get through. I'm sorry. There also are traffic lights on Park Avenue where it intersects with Jefferson and on Eastern Turnpike where it intersects with Jefferson. Very few, if any, students walk to Notre Dame High School. Very few people walk on Jefferson Street at all.
That's not, ma'am, that's not an accurate statement. There are a lot of people walking on Jefferson Street, including Notre Dame High School students who will walk across the street to Sacred Heart now.
There are some Sacred Hearts students who walk on it. There are also sidewalks on Jefferson Street on both sides near the intersection with Park Avenue. According to the town's own records, there were a total of 85 accidents involving Jefferson Street, and this is all of Jefferson Street, not just the intersection with Park Avenue, during the years from 2021 through 2024. Those same records indicate that speeding was involved in less than 4% of those accidents. Fairfield claims that it made Jefferson Street a speed camera 20-mile-per-hour zone at the request of Notre Dame, or for the sake of Notre Dame High School. However, I suggest, and I think it's much more likely, that it was at the request of Sacred Heart, even though it has pedestrian-controlled traffic light and sidewalks. Jefferson Street is a wide, straight road with at most 4 houses on it. It has 3 traffic lights, as I said. There are also other lights on traffic lights with its intersection at Park Avenue and Eastern Turnpike. Jefferson Street's regular non-school hour speed limit is 25 miles per hour. That is low enough, especially in view of the other protections that exist on that road. Many would say that the 25 miles per hour alone is too low.
Ma'am?
It is lower than the speed limit on other streets in Fairfield that are narrower, more winding, and have many, many more residences on them. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Bill Hopf. I live at 285 Hemlock Hills Road North. Not afraid to give my address. I've been a volunteer for since 2014 in a number of different ways, and I've talked to a lot of people in the process. And in the past, the biggest complaint I used to hear was that people are driving too fast in town. So I will tell you that I've gotten 2 warnings, and I actually have a ticket I'm going to have to pay for. The reason I got them was because I wasn't paying enough attention. And so I am paying more attention now. I think I'm a better driver and I'm driving slower. I realize that it applies to where the schools are, but the solution for me personally, talking about myself, is I have to drive slower in general and pay more attention. So I will tell you that I'm in favor of the speed cameras, so thank you for that.
Thank you all for the opportunity to speak. My name is Pamela Iacono. I live on Fife Road in Fairfield. You've all heard from me. You've heard my ideas. I won't deeply go into them now. I want to thank the Fairfield Police Department for all of their work on this. And I know from the bottom of their hearts that every single thing that they put together on this came from a safety perspective. I wasn't paying all that much attention as to what was going on. And after all of this was unveiled, I went back and watched every single meeting on this. And from the start, former Chief Calamaris came right out of the gate, and this was about safety. And I believe that now, watching that from the police department perspective. I'm a little more skeptical about what happened behind the scenes with the town and the financial aspect of it. And I would ask that the town, please go back and look at things. And as a gesture of goodwill, eliminate the additional fee and roll it in to the fine. You can pay the private contractor out of the fines that people are paying for speeding. It would be a demonstration that this is not about money, because I know you all care. I've served with almost all of you up here in one capacity or another in an elected office. And I know where you're coming from. And on that note, I just want to say one thing about communication. I'm very sorry that this meeting was so hostile this evening. But I'm not surprised. People are very angry. There is a message, whether intended or not, coming out of the first select person's office, not the police department, not the traffic authority, not public works, that is an attitude of tell, don't ask. And when the chief of staff stands in front of an audience and screams at them and tells them and loses their composure and says she's embarrassed for us, you're feeding that narrative. So please take a beat on that. Let's not get political. I don't think that's a necessary thing to do here. However, one other thing. This building, we might have it till 9. It's a town building. It is the people's building. God bless our custodians. They will take overtime to stay if they need to. And people do not and should not be cut off. So to arbitrarily decide in the midst of a meeting that you're going to cut people off after not having an announcement, and Madam First Select Person, you know this, you've ran lots of meetings yourself, you make clear announcements and you say, everyone get in line. And then that's it. And people know the expectations. And that's an excellent example of what is going on here at a broader level. People don't understand the expectations because the ball keeps moving and there is not clear communication. Mr. Nickel is another one who is on an elected official consistently. This is another thing. I really recommend that a certain caucus that is the majority in this town is not doing anybody any favors going on social media berating people. So thank you for hearing me out. Thank you for allowing me the time.
My name is Jackson Shostak. I live on Figler Avenue here in Fairfield. I was lucky enough to grow up here in this beautiful town. But most importantly, thank you to the Fairfield Police Department for making us feel safe throughout between traffic and crime. Anyway, as Martin Luther King said, riots or civil unrest are the voice the language of the unheard. And that's what we're seeing tonight, is that there hasn't been ample opportunity by the town, not necessarily by the police department, it's not the police department's obligation, but by the town boards and the RTM that has a supermajority to actually take time and listen. This is the first major opportunity that the town has promoted for people to voice their opinion. And sure, you were elected, but it's kind of it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission, because I don't think this would have ever really gone through if it was communicated properly. Further, once it was communicated, getting the message out to all households, regardless of whether they're online, living in a virtual world, as do I live in a virtual world, or, you know, older people like my grandmother who raised her kids here in town, who then raised me. She doesn't get this online. There's no proper notice, no great notice to the residents. And that I'm disappointed, and that I hope you can change, because that will help generate more transparency and accountability in our elected officials. Thank you.
Megan McClope, for the record, 2815 Reading Road, Fairfield, Connecticut. I say that because it's important and I'll get to it. I'm going to be very quick because I want to be deferential to the people that have taken many hours out of their night, and I think people should have an opportunity to speak. So I'm going to speak very quickly because God knows I've had my chance of a microphone in this town. I am one of 4 people that walked with the safety traffic audit along with our esteemed Captain Hector Harazari. I firmly believe when I stand here, I probably have more education on how the history of how we got to this point than most anybody else in this town. I think Captain would agree with me. And the reason why I say that is I also have to tell you I'm one of the RTM elected officials that voted for these cameras. Hold your booze, it won't matter. And I'm going to tell you why. And that's because, as I stated at the onset of this, I am a resident of Reading Road. And why that matters, as anybody who's lived in Fairfield long enough knows, is we had 2 fatalities on Reading Road within a mile block of each other within 2 years. They happened to be the first 2 years since I purchased my home and became a resident of the town of Fairfield. To say it engaged me and perpetuated to get me involved in public service would be an understatement. That being said, we have a speeding problem in Fairfield, that is true. Are cameras the answer? I'm not sure, but God knows we've put a lot of municipal resources into making sure we had the data to confirm it. There was a whole rollout. Whether or not it was done appropriately, I'm the first to tell you because I sat on the RTM. It was not the plan that was voted for by your elected officials. Taxation without representation, that's an issue when something passes through that was not what it was voted on. So anybody who's sitting here in this caucus, and I'm looking at all of my former RTM members, you all know what I'm talking about, that this was not supposed to be 24/7. There were supposed to be flashing lights. There was a lot of issues with how this got rolled out. However, to stand here, and I say this as firmly as I've ever said anything else when I get up on a microphone in the town of Fairfield and speak, I am very disappointed in the conduct on all parties in this room because we are better than this. We are treating some elected officials horribly, but we're also really taking advantage of a lot of people and expecting that they don't see lack in transparency. But the one thing that I think we would all be remiss if we stand and allow to happen is the disrespect for our law enforcement, our police department. Our town is so fortunate to have the esteemed members of this Fairfield Police Department who get paid as rank and file public servants to do this data research. If anybody in this room has not called 911 in the town of Fairfield, God bless you. Because I've had to call 911. I was there when there were fatalities on my road, and I rely on these men and women in blue to make sure that we're doing everything we can for a safer answer in Fairfield. I know a lot of people don't want to hear it. There's a lot of fear mongering about cameras and AI. Every single one of you holding a phone right now, you're being tracked and surveilled way more than these cameras will ever touch. So don't even joke. But more importantly, I hope the administration hears me loud and clear because we've had a lot go on in this town. We suffered a dear loss of a former selectman, and that is a terrible tragedy that this town has had to overcome. We've had a change in police regime. We're going through it. The town of Fairfield's going through it, which is why we need to do better than how we've all conducted ourselves tonight. It's why the people of Fairfield deserve transparency. We don't deserve $3 million hidden into a budget for fiscal year 27 on projected revenue from this. We deserve the town meetings. We deserve the question and answers. And we also deserve fair, transparent presentations to RTM, Board of Selectmen, and Board of Finance so the people know exactly what we're talking about before we get here tonight. But what I think we all owe everybody in this room is a recognition that some of us have said things and acted differently, and our law enforcement officers and our Fairfield Police Department do not deserve it. They're doing what's best for the safety of Fairfield. We need to trust that they know how to do their job. We're not all experts in everything else. We need to trust that they are in this. And that's all I'm gonna say.
Thank you, Megan.
Hi, my name is Jason Rashiotis, a lifelong Fairfield resident. I have a question for the Public Works Department. You showed in your presentation the Vision Zero project is multivariate and multifaceted. How fundamental is the camera system to the goal of reaching Vision Zero? Is it the linchpin, or is this a supplemental thing that clearly the town doesn't want and we can do away with and still meet the goals?
I think, like I had mentioned, can you hear me? It's just, there's many tools in the toolbox, right? You know, you have quick builds, you have projects we roll out, raise crosswalks, all of these things. It's just another tool we can use to get people to slow down. So,
but if that tool is getting massive pushback in ways you didn't anticipate, is that a thing you can adapt to on the fly and spend that money elsewhere on a thing that's less having of obvious problems?
once again, you know, we can always reevaluate what we're doing. However, it is beneficial to us. It is one tool in the toolbox we use to get people to slow down.
All right, a couple of other questions, just very quickly. I'm sorry, Jason from Altamont, but if these cameras are really so effective, why are they not up everywhere? Why are they not all across town? Why are we not worried about the lives of other people on higher congestion roads? Are they live streamed 24/7? Or is there someone watching them at all times? Do they only trigger when they track someone going fast. We need more information to understand how hackable or safe or surveilling these cameras actually are.
Sure. So we don't decide where the cameras go, so you have to ask your law enforcement about where they want the cameras. They only trigger if a vehicle hits the 11 over posted speed limit.
And they're otherwise just radaring for looking for speed without camera.
It's a radar that, yeah, so the radar's on, so if a vehicle goes through and triggers, it takes the picture. Otherwise, it's not doing anything.
Okay, and you said you've been in this business for 20 years. Have other municipalities and towns not renewed or canceled their contracts with you over these similar issues?
Sure. Throughout the years, absolutely, things happen.
Is there any collective wisdom your company has learned from those experiences?
Yeah, I mean, I've tried to, I head up, like I said, I think mentioned, I head up the sales, account management, and marketing team at Ultimate. So, I try to be, and with our team as very transparent as possible. I mean, I've come here, I did not tell the police department or your elected officials that I wasn't going to be here. I'm here. I'll take whatever questions come to me. So we want to be very transparent. We've tried to roll this program out. One of the slides of some of the I'll call it a soft rollout in Fairfield. Things have been done here that have not been happening anywhere else in the country to roll it out in a soft way just to get people accustomed to it. Because going into it, the warnings, like in the testing, the volumes were out of control. And you saw the first day of warnings, you had 7,300 warnings. And so we have contracts in 11 different states. We have big programs. We have cameras like, maybe 40 cameras, 50 cameras in some communities. Fairfield was our largest warning period in company history. That's how many warnings we're generating here. So the volume was high, and in discussions with police department and others, we had gone through this, right? Best practices. Let's roll this out a little bit slower because the volumes are crazy. We have to do something about it. They were open to suggestions. They came with suggestions, and that some of those were one citation in the first 2 weeks. Thousands of people did not get a second citation because they did that. 3 in a month, keeping it at $50, having the extra warning day. Again, I know that got booed, but that was 2,000 people that got a warning instead of citation. So best practices, yeah, those are some of that collective wisdom that, at least we as a company have tried to, pass on. And, I think it's important that if this is a partnership, they're not dictating to us. We certainly don't dictate to our clients on what to do, but I think those are some of the steps that we've learned through the process.
Okay. And just a very final question to the first selectman. Did you anticipate this level of pushback? And if not, maybe why? And maybe that's something to think about. Look, we have 24 liquor stores in this town. There's all sorts of ways that we have vices, and I don't know, trying to frame this as the safety, think of the children, just seems to me cynical. Just call it a vice tax. Just call it we're having people break the law. And that kind of honesty, I think, would have gone a lot farther than, I don't know, maybe even the slow rolling might have contributed to the problem. So just a little bit of food for thought.
Hi, Dave Rock, 535 Boydens Hill Road. I was on the RTM representing District 2 when this all went down. So Tony Wong passed the enabling legislation for Vision Zero back in 2023. And the RTM started looking at this in late 2024 in LNA. It was in December. Okay. The RTM had their first meeting. We never talked about anything in that meeting, and it was a long meeting. We never said one word about how much money we were going to make. We talked all about safety. And the second meeting of the RTM, when we discussed this, and it went for a long time, was right at the end of the meeting, someone said, how much money would we be getting from this? What's the math? And Bill Gerber, okay, said I think we'll probably do about 7 tickets a day, maybe 150 a month. That, to me, is you can just throw the cash grab thing right out the window because nobody was thinking about the money. We were all thinking about safety. And there was debate at the RTM on whether or not it should be town-wide or just we should try with just schools. And that was our thought process, to just get this out to protect kids. So Chief, I have a question. If I'm driving 30 miles an hour in this town, will I ever get a ticket from a speed camera?
No, sir.
Okay. If I am driving 35 and a 25, am I going to get a ticket?
No, sir.
Okay. If I'm driving 40 in a 30, am I going to get a ticket from a speed camera?
If you're going 40 in a 30?
In a 30, in the speed camera hits me. I wouldn't be
No,
getting a
you will
ticket.
not.
Right. So that's a pretty modest ask. It's a pretty modest ask. We can't drive 10 miles over the posted speed limit in this town. I just throw my hands up because I can't believe that people are cheering. Let's get rid of these cameras. They're taking our money. 71% of the money that's taken in is from people who do not live in this town. 71%. Is it a real number? Is it a real number? All right, let's talk about mass surveillance, okay? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. If I drive, there's a camera right there. There's a camera, okay? If I drive from here, hold on, I'm on the mic. You give me some time.
Please,
some time.
Dave,
Okay.
Dave.
Okay, if I drive from here to my house, how many Ring cameras am I on? If I stop at CVS, I'm on their cameras. What do they do with their data? If I go to Home Depot, what happens? I'm on their cameras. Cameras are everywhere. They're everywhere. Okay? I don't, it's a tool for the police. I think it's a great idea. If you can't stay under 11 miles an hour over the speed limit, you kind of deserve the ticket.
Thanks,
Okay?
Dave.
All right, please. All right,
Am I allowed to speak?
Go right ahead.
Thank you. I don't really like microphones, surprisingly. I haven't been back here since I graduated from Ward High School in 2019. I have been born and raised in Fairfield, Connecticut. I love this town. I love the people who work for this town and want to make this town safe. And I think it is very clear that this entire initiative was rolled out the wrong way, has a lot of feedback from all sides of the board, the people, sorry, not the board, but I am just so beyond disappointed. And I get that people are disappointed with my behavior tonight. I'm known to be pretty disruptive. I'm sorry. But y'all, like, I'm begging you guys to listen. I'm begging you guys to not come up to people and say, yeah, actually, he's gonna be last. That really wasn't cool. I'm better in writing, and I probably will be writing about this. If you've read it, great, but I'm really, really just trying to say, I don't even know. Yeah, I'm done.
Hi, Jeff Steele. I just want to say, first of all, thank you for having this. Christine, Kevin, and everybody, thank you for doing this. This is very important. Second of all, I want to applaud the police department. First rate department, without a doubt. And there should be no blame on the police department. Third of all, I think we do have a speeding problem in town. I think we all agree. I was on the RTM for 16 years, but most recently I was on the RTM when this was approved in, I think, February or March of 2025. And I think the person who spoke to before me recounted how someone asked about revenue. That was me. I asked about revenue, and I did ask how much was projected, and I think that was 800,000, I was told by the former first selectman. It ended up being well over $1 million in the first month. But the point is, I was one of 6 who voted against this. And I didn't vote against it because I was not in favor of improving safety. I voted against because this wasn't ready yet. We can see it doesn't seem to be ready yet. I know it's implemented, but we never really vetted it with people. Yes, those who could come to the RTM meeting could have come. We probably had 2 or 3 people. I don't think people really knew what was being voted on or proposed. We members didn't even know all the information, and so that's why 6 of us said, we're not ready yet. We don't have the data. What is the extent of this? How far will it go? And why can't we do speed bumps and lights? And we were told we can't do speed bumps because fire trucks we can't speed through them, but I'm told they can, and kids hitting their head. So I feel like we're jumping the shark. I mean, it's a little too late now, it's out there. And I always felt we were jumping the shark instead of putting together some alternate medium-term stopgap, if not stopgap, but measures, whether it's the lights or the speed bumps and other things we could have done in those troubled areas. But what happened was we were told that this was going to be for school safety only. And yes, we need safety all over town, but this was a school safety issue. We said, okay, that makes sense. We were never told 24/7. We were never told this would expand. And when we even made 2 amendments on the floor of the RTM a year and a half ago when we did this, we said, well, why don't we say, let's start with a very select subgroup of areas or schools and see how that goes, see how that plays out, see how the public reacts, see if it's a good program. That was voted down, I think 32-6 or however many. Then we proposed, well, why don't we at least say as a safety measure or stop as a check and balance, why can't any further cameras go to the RTM for approval? That would make sense. We're elected officials. We are elected by the people we represent. That makes sense, right? Why can't we approve them? But then that was also rejected so that the traffic authority could then make a decision to put in as many cameras as they want. So now I look at where this is going, and you can see the concern here. You see the people, or a lot of the people here are frustrated. And I wish we had more open dialogue earlier. And it's spilled milk. What can we do now? We can't put a referendum together. We could have had one then. Might not have been a bad idea. But the point is, there weren't a lot of people who were able to go to the meetings or didn't go. And I just ask every member of the public, stay informed what happens at RTM meetings and Board of Selectmen meetings. Be aware of what we've come to now. And this is because people didn't know what was happening. People didn't really realize what is happening here. And I think that's unfortunate. I really, appeal to everyone to stay informed as to what these town bodies vote on. My only question is, where do we go from here? What is it, are we looking to go townwide? Are we looking to expand? Because that is my concern. So it's a process. It was a cloudy process. I think we were pitched a different program than what actually was approved, such as, why are we 24/7? This was supposed to be for school time only. Why are we 27? I don't really have an answer. And I think a lot of the people still don't. But do we have a problem? Yes. Is this the right way? I don't think it is. And I just wonder, and I ask this of somebody, where do we go from here? What is the next step? What is the ultimate plan with this program with cameras? Can someone, I know it was a prior administration or a prior first selectman and prior chief of staff, prior police officer, but where do we go now with this?
Thank you, Jeff.
Could somebody actually answer that?
I think right now we are where we are. We're taking this feedback from the community and we'll evaluate it. We're not, other speed zones have been approved. There's not a plan right now to put cameras in those speed zones. I hear, the concerns of the public and the concerns about cameras. A lot of these decisions were made, a year ago. Wish I could go back. Understand, as I said from the beginning, the reason that we're here today is that despite the radio interviews, the press releases, the TV interviews, the written communication that went out, there were still questions. So we wanted to provide the opportunity to give you the data that we had, and the data, we may not want to hear it, and I know that it's coming from cameras, but the data is showing that we have a speeding problem in Fairfield. The data also is showing that it's seemingly that these cameras are helping reduce that. The 24/7, it's to change behavior of everybody. We need to slow down. And while kids are, arrival and dismissal, kids are out and about, schools are places where families and children congregate 24/7. They do it on the weekends. There's after school. You go by Osborne Hill right now, camps. I mean, I was there yesterday, tons of children walking to camp. So I think that we're fooling ourselves and thinking that children are not at schools 24/7 throughout the year. And I know you may not want to hear it, but for me, it was always about public safety, and it still is about public safety. And if this program makes $0, then it's a success, because that means that we're slowing down, and there's a higher likelihood that no one is going to lose their lives on Fairfield's roads.
Thank you.
Hello, can you hear me? I'm Dave from Fairfield. I got some numbers here real quick. I just looked up. I guess Fairfield issued 94,000 warning notices in that month of, where they're just doing warnings, right? So that means, quick math, in a year, 1,128,000 people were wildly careening through Fairfield. And you said how many deaths? 0?
0 children
Yeah.
killed.
How many adults?
We had 2 on Reading Road,
Uh-huh.
and we had nearly 5 fatalities on 1 speeding crash on Jefferson Street by Notre Dame High School.
All right. So when I look at this thing, you guys, I'm sure you've all heard it before. If it's not a problem, don't try to fix it. And I don't think it's really a problem. I mean, people are driving around. I do the same thing, and I don't know if you noticed. I noticed because I drive. And every time you go down to the camera area, right? And there's 6 schools, right? And they're 100 yards each, somewhere along there. And so if you drive there, everybody slows down for that 100 yards. And then as soon as they get through that zone, they speed up again. Are we really changing the culture?
I'm changing the culture within the school zones themselves.
But why? How many people have been killed in school zones?
I don't want to wait till a person is killed in a school
That's-
zone. That's
that's
reactive policing.
That's
My
right.
job is to be proactive.
You have to be reactive, though, to damages.
I disagree with you. I cannot be reactive. I am not going to wait for a fatality to occur before I take action. My job is to
make the
prevent
speed limits
fatality.
15 miles an hour throughout town. That's proactive, right?
I'm sorry, say again?
Make speed limits 15 miles around town.
We can't just make the speed limit 15 miles because we have to get approval from the state.
Well, get approval from the state.
The state approved 20 miles an hour for this school zone, sir.
All right. I don't agree with the speed limits anyway. I think they're really too low, right? But anyway, so let me see. I just wanted to have a real quick question from the guy from all the charts I saw up there that people were putting up data. Is any of that data peer reviewed? Especially the ultimate guy. All that data you have, did you have a peer reviewed data or you just make it up?
Did I make it up? No, it's just raw numbers. It's pretty basic raw
Who
numbers.
made it up though? I mean, your company though.
Sure.
And you didn't peer review it? You didn't have a third party peer review it to see whether your data was really good?
No.
Oh. How do we know, how can we trust it then?
I mean, the numbers are the numbers. They're not very elaborate numbers. Here's the number.
It's not really
Here's what it is, and it shows the stats. I mean, it's very basic. All the numbers were on the sheet.
All right, I just been, we've seen a lot of data coming from government people and contractors and it's, a lot of times it's not really right.
I
all right?
appreciate that, and it was not an in-depth report, as you can see. It was very basic numbers,
Yeah.
just to show directional. It wasn't a white paper, as they say, or a scientific paper that needed
All right.
peer review per se.
Another quick question was, did you lobby the town or did the town lobby you for the cameras?
Nobody
There,
lobbied, sir.
there was not any lobbying. This was a decision that was made by, the reduced school zone was made by the police commission. The RTM passed an ordinance.
So you guys
The
reached
town,
out to
the
Ultimate?
town, it's not the town versus the police. The police, we are.
Police are
one-
part of the town.
We are one community.
Yeah.
The town administration relies on our police department to guide us for public safety. They are the experts and the professionals, and we trust their guidance on this. This is one tool
Right.
that enables law enforcement to help keep us safe and use their resources in other parts of town.
So you reached out to the camera guy and he didn't reach out to you?
We put an RFP out
Yeah.
this is how we go out to bid for, to hire people.
All right. All right.
It goes out on the town website
All
and
right.
people, we said, this is what we're looking for. These are the parameters. This is the ordinance. This is the statute.
Yeah.
This is the OSTA guidelines, what we're looking a vendor to help us do.
Yeah.
We had an idea of what we were doing before we ever hired
Uh-huh.
a vendor. We already had the school zones. We already,
All right.
all that was done. And then it
All
was through
above.
competitive.
I
it was
just want to
through
make sure because I
It was
just know
through
these
competitive bidding on how
contracting
it was
systems like that,
selected.
you know, but anyway, so I stand by my statement. If it's not. What?
Sir.
It's not
sir,
broke. If it's not broke, don't fix it, guys. Everybody.
Could we let the
It's not
next
broke,
woman
don't
in
fix it.
line speak?
Okay.
Joan from Fairfield. I've lived here 55 years. I think there's a few things the town is upset about, and I'm not really in favor of the cameras, but what upsets me more is that processing fee. I think there's an element here that hasn't been discussed, and that would be families with more than one driver driving that particular car. And if one of those drivers gets tagged for speeding, there's a processing fee if the next one gets tagged for speeding. Whereas what I'm trying to say, it's almost like a person's not getting tagged, the car's getting tagged. And that upsets me. And I think that's unfair to a lot of families that are not here tonight. I myself never had a traffic ticket. I find myself looking down at the speedometer. I say, oh, I hope I'm not going past that limit, where I'd rather just keep my eyes on the road. But that's, that's where I'm at with this. Thank you.
Thank you.
How you doing? Matthew Ambrose. I just had, thank you. And there's a couple things that kind of bothered me. One of them is I understand the need for safety. I have 3 kids and you need to slow down in school zones and everything else. But I do believe that flashing lights, yellow flashing lights during the day would be completely beneficial. They would work. And for everybody that's complaining like, oh, those will keep people up at night. Well, it's only during the school day. That's not going to keep anybody up. So I don't know why we didn't try that before we tried, surveillance. And kind of also bothers me that, I know that it's like this appeal to emotion about safety and safety and safety. And what are we giving in return? We're sacrificing, our rights to a little bit of privacy, to not being surveilled for this guise of safety. If that was really the case, well, maybe it would make kids wear safety helmets when they're driving those scooters. And maybe, they're not all 12 years old. I've seen plenty of 16, 17, 18-year-olds driving these scooters going more than 25 miles an hour or 20 miles an hour in busy streets and everything else downtown. So I think if that was really concerned safety, then maybe we would go after them in some way. We could figure it out. Another problem that I have is that these cameras, I know everybody's saying that, hey, listen, it's just a yes, no. If you're speeding, then they're going to capture you. That's the only way that they're going to capture you. But for some reason, I don't really trust that. I know that, 15, 20 years ago, when I had a cell phone, I didn't expect that thing to track me, to know that the ads that I was looking at, to be able to communicate to different companies, everything that I was doing. But that's the situation that we find ourselves in right now. So there's like a little bit of a mission creep to see what are you going to accept? Are you going to accept, you know, a little bit of surveillance here, and then we'll pop you with, you know, okay, maybe we'll share this information with him or there or something else. I know we do have flock cameras in town right now that collect our data and share our whatever with, you know, whatnot. But I'm just I'm very worried about the direction this is going in, because I just feel like it's a slippery slope that if we give into this, then, you know, the next thing is this, the next thing is this, and then the next thing it's on every road and sharing information with our insurance companies, you know, and that's where I think it's going.
Thank you, sir.
And you can say I'm wrong, but that's where our cell phones did. And at least with a cell phone, I know what I'm getting into when I get onto a cell phone. With a security camera that's up, whatever, I never agreed to that. Never agreed to that. So I appreciate your time. It's not a knock against you guys. And I do understand the whole entire thing. Like, you know, these were supposed to be preventative or proactive. But if there's been zero deaths in these school zones, well, what's the new aim? Like, definitely not having any deaths in the future. That's kind of like, now you're changing the framing of the argument, is how I feel. So thank you for your time.
Hi there, Jeanette Sikora. I am a Fairfield resident, live on Hulls Farm Road. I thank you for all the work that you've done, for being here today. And I'm frankly kind of embarrassed at the way some of the people have reacted. If they would have just been quiet, I could leave here sooner. But anyhow, this is about safety. It's nice to know that there's a plan of some sort to get people to slow down. And I'll tell you, since this program has come out, I have slowed down all over town, and I'm sure a lot of other people have also. And this meeting is for traffic safety. I object to all those white plastic strips posts all over town. And in particular, in front of the nursery. They look stupid. I've been, for 35 years, I've come out of, onto Bronson and gone straight down to continue in Bronson. And there's this big row of 6 there. They're disgusting. They don't look nice. They interrupt traffic flow. They're not going to help anything. And that's my valid opinion. And I'm smart. My husband tells me I know everything. So listen to me. Get those sticks down. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Just so as I had mentioned, we are making adjustments to those. So keep that in mind. They're not permanent. And as far as them being not aesthetically pleasing, once again, they're not permanent. So please keep that in mind as well.
Hi, my name is Eileen and I live in Fairfield and I am a resident of Villa Avenue. And I walk around this area on Melville. Villa and Melville is a hot spot, has been a terrible hot spot for years. I've been here for 25 years. I've seen many accidents in the middle of the night on Villa Avenue that would have taken out pedestrians in the middle of the day. And I walk up Melville in order to do my walk, and people go racing down Melville all times of the day and night. And I literally make plans of how I would avoid being hit by a car when I'm walking in the Melville Avenue area. And I just have to say that the cameras have made vast improvements on the speeding that goes on Villa Avenue and Melville. It's like a Sunday morning. And that's what I want as a resident, that I don't have to worry about being hit by cars or try to get out of my driveway and not be hit by speeders on Villa Avenue who are taking their speed down now because of their fear of tickets and the cameras that are recording them. I understand people's fear of technology and being recorded, but we are progressing in technology, and these are advantages that we can use for our community and for our safety and for the children. Of course, the children. But yeah, and the adults too. I don't want to get hit by vehicles when I'm out walking or in front of my house mowing my lawn. It has made a difference. And I have to say thank you. I know that there are details that you need to work out with the community to make it work, but I say gung ho, let's do it. I'm very happy with the results. Thank you.
Okay, I'm Jay Diamond. I have lived on Casimir Drive since, I think, the end of 1990. So I've been here longer than I want to admit. And I understand the concerns of safety. I think they're very serious. When I read in the paper, hear on the radio that some, especially some young individual has been killed, or a child on a scooter, to me, that's terrible. I may not know the kid, don't know the family, but it's just not something you want to hear or see or read about. On the other hand, like I think almost everyone else here is, I think I'm a good driver, or I think generally I drive at a reasonable speed, and I think I'm careful. And a couple times when I've driven up here, I've been conscious to slow down. But somehow I just think that with these cameras up there, I expect I might get pinched once or twice a year. And I think that's probably what's behind everyone's mind. Even if we try to be careful, we're going to probably get one. And maybe an answer is a warning if it's more than less than one every, maybe you could try something like that. You get a warning the first time, second time in 6 months or something, you get the fine and the fees that go with it. But I don't know if that's a fair way or a better idea, worse idea, but that's just something I'm thinking of. The other, if I just, I guess I'm probably the end here, but one other thing is people talk about having all these cameras out there and the ability to pick up all of these license plate readers. Well, number one, I assume if there's a robbery at the bank, they're going to want to look and see which cars were going by at that time that match the description or whatever. And maybe somewhere my name would come up, but then they look, well, he wasn't there at that time, or he wasn't, over there. And I think if I'm not doing or suspected of doing anything wrong, I'm gonna be lost in the data of I don't know how many million. I can't imagine the size of the database, but it would be used to look at only if there's a problem, or maybe if it's my car that got stolen. My car was stolen. We had a car stolen. Again, 36 years ago for a while was. So I'm just saying, I don't think that that's really as much a problem because just so much data. I mean, whenever you're out in public, whenever you're on the street, you know who's going to see you anyway. So that's sort of my feeling. Could help that. And I'll give you another, for instance, a little bit out of the jurisdiction here. But I got a letter from New York City, and this car my son drives was given a ticket for parking at a fire hydrant. Problem is, I don't think he was anywhere near New York City at that time. And I would love to be able to call and ask or find out if someone looking through all this data could say, no, he wasn't there. The ticket therefore is wrong. But I can't prove, and it was a poorly written ticket. I'm just saying, so these things can be used to help you. And also we know that terrible thing that happened in Darien a few years ago, and how they were able to track using the doorbell cameras and all these other surveillance cameras. They were able to figure out what went on. I think that's important. I don't think we want someone getting away with something like that. So those are my thoughts, and I thank everyone and appreciate and I'm sorry, people were yelling and all. I just surprised people my age could act that way, but it's that way. But thank you for everything you're doing, and thank you for holding this meeting.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Hey, how you doing? Eric Alfieri, live on Woodridge Avenue. Just curious, with Department of Works, are you guys, currently the Fairfield zoning department's approving a lot of apartments. How is the town making it, we're talking about safety. What is, like, I think there's over 2,000 new units coming. What are we doing to expand the infrastructure, making that safer, accommodating for all these cars, gonna be 2,000 plus new cars. I think 2,000 new units. That's going to be 4,000 cars. Every household has 2 cars. I work in trauma surgery, so I completely understand these car accidents. I see them every day. Motorcycles. I find it hard that you guys are not able to enforce the law on those individuals. Maybe you guys should look at drones or some other surveillance, tag them, follow them back to their house. I know it's not always easy, but I guess my question is, there's a lot of disgruntled people today, and some pro, some negative. But can we get a referendum? And mainly on the flock cameras are very concerning to me. They're just mass surveillance, in my opinion. But Yeah, could we get a referendum, maybe a vote? I think this should have went to the ballot box.
So just to address your first question.
One more
to-
thing,
to me, yeah.
I live on Fairfield Woods, the intersection on Stilson and Fairfield Woods by the school. I'm sure there's been some very extreme and deadly car accidents there. But are you guys gonna do anything to fix that?
So yes, so going back to your first question about the zoning, we do have code review meetings. With them, when these things come in, I have been internally working on, a complete streets vision zero type checklist that we could utilize. That's a work in progress. We haven't gotten there yet. We do look at things like, the parking during construction, and before, during, and after. That as far as Fairfield Woods and Stilson Road goes.
Yeah.
So we have a safety action plan we've been working on, that was a federal grant we received. So we're getting a ton of data from that, and in there, they're also working on concepts on different roads, and Fairfield Woods is one of the ones we've identified, in that contract.
I don't know if like a camera would be there, but like a rotary would make a lot more sense or something of that sort. But could we get a vote to maybe like a vote for the people for these speed cameras and the ALP, the flock cameras? Because the flock cameras are mass surveillance, no doubt.
This isn't something we do a referendum for. We trust our law enforcement.
But isn't it for the people?
We elect representatives to
We don't
make these
elect-
decisions. And they're through the charter for a referendum right now. This,
Decided upon your own. I think that the real reason that a majority of people here are upset is because our government is supposed to be for the people, by the people. And when you don't allow us to have the referendum for this sort of thing, and then, like Mr. Steele said, you've rejected some of the referrals from the RTM. And yet the entities on your north didn't allow people to have the voice. That, I think, is why majority of these people are upset. You need to start to realize that that's what transparency is. It is for the people, by the people. You represent us. The people on law enforcement, they are to serve the public. They are not to tell the public what's in their best interest. We as adults have a pretty good idea what's in our best interest. When you don't have the referendum, that's when you get this kind of anger. Because we don't feel like the majority of us have the opportunity to participate.
Just
our government, we have a representative government. You have RTM members who represent you. They passed an ordinance. They debated the ordinance. Some amendments passed, some didn't. And I encourage you to become active in your government. These meetings are public. You can sign up on the town website to have agendas sent right to your email address, and you can participate. These are public meetings, and there'll be public comment on them. And I thank everybody for being here tonight. I know that this is a public building, but I am cognizant of the fact that we do have custodians who are here who are planning on leaving. I thank you for all coming and for sharing your thoughts and your feelings on this issue.